So there I was, a professional mercenary hiding from the cops in some crappy apartment, cracking open a beer and firing up my laptop for some educational videos. Studying. For science. Right at the best part. Boom. The loudest thunder in human history hits, and suddenly I'm dying. Cool. Great timing, universe. Next thing I know, I wake up and some girl is screaming. I look down and, oh no, my pants have a hole and my little soldier is out on patrol. Fantastic first impression in my new life. Because yeah, I'm in a whole new body now. Name's still Lu Hongjun, but I'm 18, it's the 1980s, and I'm stuck in the middle of nowhere in northeast China. My dad's the village production team leader. I've got 4 younger brothers, 2 sets of twins, and every single one of these little punks is taller than me. I'm 5'9". They're all pushing 6'2", 6'3". I'm the runt. They say I've always been weak. Bro, my pants literally just ripped from the pressure. Define weak. The screaming girl is Xiao Lan, full name Wu Tenglan, my childhood sweetheart who's apparently been following me around since we were both running naked through fields as toddlers. She's cute. Big eyes, high nose, thin lips. She saw my whole situation and still came back to wash my pants. That's wife material right there. She even stole 2 crumpled cigarettes from her dad for me because yesterday, I said I wanted to try smoking. I lit one up, took a big drag, and nearly coughed my lungs onto the floor. This body has never smoked before. My soul says yes, my throat says absolutely not. So here's my situation. I finished middle school, which makes me the most educated person in the entire village, by the way, and I've been sitting at home for 2 months waiting for a job that's never coming. No connections, no bribes, no iron rice bowl. Meanwhile, my family is broke. Not just regular broke. The whole family shares one big sleeping platform, and there's literally nothing else, broke. Then my 4 giant brothers roll up with a horse cart, a horse, and a mule they won in the village lottery when the production team split up. They also brought back 3 sacks of grain, 30 gene of corn, and 15 gene of wheat per person. That's our winter food supply, folks. The American dream, this is not. My second brother cooked dinner to celebrate. The menu: potato stewed wild rabbit, pickled vegetables, raw green onions with sauce, corn flatbread, and corn grits porridge. Everyone acted like it was a 5-star feast. Me? I've eaten MREs in jungles for weeks. I've eaten things raw that shouldn't be eaten raw. But this rabbit stew with 0 oil? That's where I draw the line. Rabbit meat without fat is basically edible sadness. The whole village gets maybe 4 gene of soybean oil per year for a family of 5. For gene, I use more oil making a single fried egg in my past life. Dad came home with Xiao Lan's father. Old Wu, the village party secretary, an ex-military guy raising his daughter alone since his wife died in service. The 2 families basically function as one unit anyway. Xiao Lan eats at our place half the time. After dinner, I started scheming. Our village sits right on the border with Russia, mountains behind us, rivers full of fish, forests full of game. I was a mercenary who spent half his career living in the wilderness. This backyard forest is basically my personal grocery store. No way I'm staying poor when I literally have survival skills and a mountain full of free food. Only problem, I've got 0 tools and 0 resources. But hey, every great comeback story starts with nothing, right? Everyone went to bed early because, and I cannot stress this enough, when you're single in 1980s rural China with no electricity and no entertainment, sleeping is literally the only thing to do. Tomorrow morning, I hit the mountains. Operation Stop Being Poor begins at dawn. Next morning, us 6 Lu men choked down last night's leftovers, and Dad headed out to round up people for building a barn. Winter's coming fast. Snow hits in October up here, and we're talking waist-deep snow and -40 nights. A horse and mule left outside would become horse-shaped ice sculptures. Dad's plan was the quick and dirty method. Weave oak branches into walls, slap mud on both sides, toss a thick grass roof on top. 3 days, done. Not pretty, but hey, we're not building the Hilton for livestock. I decided to skip construction duty. Let's be real. This body can barely carry 100 gene. I'd be about as useful on a building site as a chocolate teapot. Instead, I figured I'd take the horse and mule up the mountain. 2 birds, 1 stone. Let them graze on actual grass and scout the terrain for future hunting operations. I grabbed my one and only weapon, a 30-centimeter pig slaughtering knife, and headed for the door. That's when my youngest brother, Hongen, came scurrying over like a puppy who heard the treat bag open. Bro, you're taking the horse out? I'm coming too. I'll catch fish at the river, this kid. He's 15, already taller than me, and the laziest of the four brothers. The other three are workhorses, heads down, no complaints. Hongen, he's the one with ideas. The kind of ideas that end with everyone abandoning their chores to chase rabbits through a field. But since Dad's the team leader, nobody says anything. I let him tag along. Honestly, with this noodle body and the bears, tigers, wolves, and wild boars in these mountains, going alone with just a pig knife felt like bringing a toothpick to a sword fight. You just want to ride the horse and dodge work before Dad gets back, don't you? I said without turning around. He grabbed the reins, flashed me the world's guiltiest grin. The universal face of, you caught me, but please don't snitch. Hopped on the horse and bolted toward the mountain before I could say another word. I climbed on the mule and followed, yelling, "You little punk. The horse is hungry and you're riding it? You just didn't want Dad to catch you and make you work." We reached East River, really just a branch off the Heilongjiang. 3 or 4 meters wide, maybe 2 meters deep at the deepest point. In winter it freezes 1.5 meters solid, and you can chop a hole and fish basically jump out because the water pressure shoots them up. Scooping fish with a ladle isn't a saying for nothing up here. But that's winter. Right now, my genius little brother decided to strip down and jump in. He lasted approximately 1 second. AAGH. He launched himself out of the water like a dolphin at SeaWorld, both hands clamped firmly over his crotch, hopping around and shivering violently. Bro, it's freezing. It shrank. It's all shriveled up. Look, he actually tried to show me. I glanced. I shouldn't have. Even my own equipment retreated in sympathy. Put your clothes on, you idiot. There's already ice forming in that water. You want your equipment to fall off? No wife for you. No children. Congratulations, end of your bloodline. This boy immediately started crying. No, bro, is it really broken? It's so small now. I still need it. I want a wife. I need to make babies. I honestly couldn't tell if he was crying from the cold water or the terror of permanent shrinkage. Probably 80% terror. I calmed him down, and we moved on toward the oak forest to hunt. But how do we catch anything? He asked. I only have a slingshot. We can't outrun birds. Only an idiot dog chases birds on foot, I said. We're setting snares. I'll use horsetail hair. I walked toward the horse's rear end and Hongen's face went completely white. Bro, no. You can't do that to the horse. Think about Sister Lawn. And I can't hold it still. What if it kicks you in the bro? I'm telling you. Old Lee's kid once touched a horse's junk and got kicked so hard he was walking bow-legged for a month, hands on his crotch, doing the penguin waddle. Bro, please. I stared at this child. My eye was twitching. Who said anything about mating with the horse? I need hair from its tail. Horsetail hair. 3 strands can snare a pheasant or a rabbit. Oh, tail hair. Right. Yeah, that makes more sense. I pulled out my knife to cut some tail hairs. The knife was too dull, so I just grabbed a fistful and yanked. Got about 20 or 30 hairs. Also almost got a hoof to the face. The horse kicked, missed me by inches. Hung and screamed. Bro. See, I told you. It kicks. Thank God it missed. If that hit you down there, it's over. No babies. No nothing. This kid has exactly one concern in life, and it's located below the belt. Every single danger in the world, he measures by whether it threatens the family jewels. I'm starting to think the cold water did something to his brain, not his equipment. I left Hongen and his traumatized equipment behind and walked into the oak forest with my 30 strands of horsetail hair. Time to put my mercenary survival skills to work. See, most people set snares on the ground. Amateurs. I know a technique called the flying snare. You tie the loop to a tree branch with a slip knot, and when a pheasant flies past or lands nearby, the wind from its own wings blows the loop right onto its head or feet. The harder it struggles, the tighter it gets. It's beautiful. It's poetic. It's basically a self-service execution station for birds. The trick is knowing exactly where the birds fly and land. Most people couldn't figure that out if their life depended on it. Me? I spent my past life crawling through jungles tracking things far more dangerous than chickens. I know animal behavior better than I know my own girlfriend. Actually, way better. Animals are predictable. Women are not. I spent 2 hours carefully placing about a dozen pheasant snares and 5 or 6 rabbit snares around a 2-acre patch of forest. No snow on the ground yet, so rabbit snares are a gamble. Without snow, they walk wherever they want. After snowfall, they stick to the same trails because trudging through deep snow is exhausting. Smart little fuzzballs. But I put a few snares in the most likely spots anyway. With the trap set, I wandered over to where the mountain meets the river to see about getting some fish. Then I remembered Hongin's near-death crotch experience and decided, absolutely not. I am not jumping in that water. That's when something gray-black launched itself across my path, and I caught a flash of golden yellow belly. Holy mother of snow frogs. Forest frogs. The soft gold of northeast China. This time of year they're packed full of eggs and oil. In my previous life, one of these bad boys at a restaurant cost you 50 yuan minimum. You just fry some green onions, add farmhouse soybean paste, stew the frog for 30 minutes, and it's so good you forget how to speak. You just sit there chewing in religious silence. Only problem, these things are Olympic athletes. They jump over a meter high and 2 meters forward from a standstill. Catching them by hand would be like trying to grab a greased ping-pong ball launched from a cannon. I went back to the forest, cut myself a 2-meter oak branch, trimmed it clean, and returned to the meadow like a samurai with the world's dumbest sword. Slowly, carefully, I crept through the grass. A frog leaped up to my left, whack. Missed. This stupid weak body can't keep up with my brain. In my old body, that frog would have been dead before it landed. But after 30 minutes of practice, I finally nailed one. Picked it up from the grass, belly up, deep gold stomach, plump as a tennis ball, over 2 liang heavy. Still alive, just very confused about what just happened to it. I kept swinging. Frog genocide was officially underway. After 3 frogs, I ran out of hands. H1GN. Bring the bag. He came trotting over with the sack we'd brought for horse grass. What did you get, bro? Pheasants? Rabbits? Must be a lot if you need the... He saw the frogs. Dude, how'd you catch toads? They're not toads, you uncultured potato. They're forest frogs. Forest. Frogs. There's a difference. We divided labor. I whacked frogs with my stick like a maniac, and Hongin followed behind collecting the bodies and stuffing them in the bag. We worked for 3 or 4 hours straight. Skipped lunch entirely. By the time we finished carpet bombing that meadow, we had half a bag, over 10 gene, maybe 60 or 70 frogs. We were starving, dehydrated, and my arms felt like wet noodles. I told Hongin to soak the bag in the river so the frogs wouldn't suffocate, then headed back into the forest to check my snares. Not far in, I heard flapping. I slowed down, crept forward quietly. Can't spook them or they'll thrash hard enough to snap the horsehair, and there it was. A pheasant, noose around its neck, barely moving. Almost dead already. I grabbed it, gave the neck a quick twist. Good night, chicken. Kept going. Snare after snare, pheasant after pheasant. Next snares got the twist. Foot snares got the oak stick treatment. By the end of my rounds, 6 pheasants, 2 rabbits, and, jackpot, 1 hazel grouse. That's the legendary dragon meat. The saying goes, dragon meat in the sky, donkey meat on the ground, and the dragon they're talking about is this bird. The broth from one of these is so good it should be illegal. The pheasants were 2 to 3 gene each, the rabbits 5 or 6 gene, the grouse barely 1 gene. Over 20 gene of wild game total. Not bad for day 1 with 0 tools and a body that gets winded climbing stairs. I staggered out of the forest, gasping like an asthmatic walrus. Hongin ran over, grabbed the birds, eyes wide as dinner plates. Bro, this is insane. So much meat. Stop talking. Grab the frog bag. We're going to town. Town? Why? We've got all this food right here. Also, do you even have money? I looked at him like he'd asked if water was wet. What do you think is hanging from your hands right now, genius? That's not food. That's currency. We packed up, rode the horse and mule home. Found nobody there. Everyone was out making mud bricks and cutting oak branches for the animal barn. We each chugged some water, grabbed a corn cake to eat on the road, and headed for town. 18 li on horseback, nice and easy. 30 minutes later, we arrived. Operation Stop Being Poor was officially generating revenue. We rode into town and skipped the government supply store. Those cheapskates would pay you like your wild game was roadkill. Instead, we headed to a private buyer I'd heard about from a classmate, a guy everyone called Old Son Never Loses. Because in every deal he's ever made, he has never once come out on the losing end. Inspiring nickname for the person about to buy my stuff. His place was impossible to miss. 3 big rooms with actual tile roofing and a yard the size of a basketball court. In a town where most people live under straw roofs, this guy had basically built himself a mansion. Never losing was clearly a profitable lifestyle. Before we even tied up the horses, a short, dark, stocky firecracker of a man rolled out of the yard. About 5'3", maybe 180 gene, built like a fire hydrant. The kind of guy who looks like he could deadlift a cow, but would also sell you the cow at double price with a smile on his face. He handed us cigarettes before we said a single word. "Brothers, welcome. Come in, come in. Let's talk inside." Hong waved his off. I took mine. He lit it for me personally. Full VIP treatment. "Mr. Son, no wonder your business is booming. This kind of hospitality makes a man feel welcome." He waved his hand like I'd just compared him to the emperor. "Oh please, I'm just scraping by. Honest living. If you boys haven't eaten, I'll have my wife cook something and we'll have a proper drink, right? Classic move. Let me buy you dinner. Is page 1 of the I'm about to lowball you into the ground playbook. Note to self. Keep both eyes open during price negotiations." I opened the first bag. 6 pheasants, 2 rabbits. His eyes did that thing merchant's eyes do. Quick scan. Instant mental calculator going brrrr. Other bag 2, forest frogs. His whole demeanor shifted. Forest frogs? Those are nearly impossible to catch. Let me see. He opened the bag and his jaw basically hit the floor. Every single one was a big fat female, stuffed with eggs and oil. See, male forest frogs are basically worthless. No eggs, no oil, no point. If a female is worth a yuan per gene, a male isn't worth a mao. And I had a bag of nothing but chunky ladies. Now came the fun part, the haggling. Old Son tried to hustle away with the bag first. "Let me just put these in the water tank before they die. How about we talk price first, Mr. Son?" He slapped his own forehead with the acting skills of a community theater dropout. Oh, silly me. How could I forget the most important part? Then he hit me with, "These things go for about 5 yuan a gene on the market. Your frogs are big though, over 1 liang each, so I'll give you 150 per frog. That's almost 8 yuan a gene. Very generous." I smiled. Said nothing. Held up 4 fingers. 4 yuan? Brother, that's. My family would starve. I picked up the bag and turned to leave. He grabbed my arm. 2 yuan each. I kept walking. 250. I'm losing money. I stopped. 280. Final offer. Otherwise I'll find someone who can do math. He sucked air through his teeth like he'd just bitten a lemon. But he agreed. First rule of business. The man who's willing to walk away wins. The count. 64 live forest frogs at 2.8 yuan each. That's 179.2 yuan. 8 dead ones I kept for the family. 6 pheasants at 4 yuan, 24. 2 rabbits at 5 yuan, 10. Grand total, 213.2 yuan. Old Son rounded up to 215 because he's generous like that. He pulled out 21 crisp 10 yuan bills and a 5. 215 yuan. In one day, the average worker makes 40 or 50 a month. We just earned 4 months' salary in an afternoon. Hongen stood there grinning so hard I thought his face would split in half. Old Son invited us for dinner again. I declined, but I had something else in mind. "I want to buy a gun." His eyebrows went up. "For the mountains? A Type 56 semi-auto would be ideal, but even second-hand that's 500 or 600. An old bolt-action Hanyang rifle runs about 100, but that's more of a toy than a weapon." I thought about it. The Type 56 was too expensive. And the bolt-action? That ancient piece of junk fires one shot. Then you have to manually reload. Taking that into the deep forest would be like walking into a lion's den with a squirt gun. If I ran into a pack of wild boars or wolves, I might as well season myself and save them the trouble. I don't need a machine gun, but I at least need something that fires more than once before I die. Old Son read my face and said, "I've got something else. Want to see it?" He led me inside, pulled a wooden box from under his wardrobe, unwrapped oil paper, and placed a gun in my hands. One look, and my mercenary brain lit up like a Christmas tree. "Mauser," I said instinctively. Then I looked closer. No, wait. My pupils shrank. "Type 80? Old Son grinned. "Good eye, little brother. Does it have a stock?" His grin got wider. "Bayonet stock." I held that gun and my hands were trembling. Not from fear, from pure joy. 7.62 millimeters pistol rounds, 20-round magazine, accurate to 50 meters without the stock, 100 with it. And the stock doubles as a bayonet, so I wouldn't even need to carry a separate knife into the mountains. I loved it. I loved it the way Hongen loves his reproductive organs, with desperate, primal devotion. But something smelled fishy. This gun was rare, limited production, barely saw any battlefield use. How did it end up in a wooden box under a wardrobe in a tiny border town in the middle of nowhere? There was definitely a story behind this, and probably not a legal one. While my brain was busy being suspicious about this gun's backstory, my hands were already doing their own thing. Mercenary muscle memory kicked in, and I stripped that gun down to individual parts on the bed in about 15 seconds. Every pin, every spring, laid out like a surgery patient. Old Son's eyes nearly popped out of his skull. "Mr. Son, this gun is brand new. It's only been fired once." He looked at me like I'd just read his diary. This kid, he's thinking, is not a normal 18-year-old village boy. He came clean. Bought it in the city from some guy who got his hands on it through shady channels. Accidentally shot someone because he didn't know how to use it. Got spooked and wanted to dump it fast. Old Son thought it looked cool and brought it home. But since he doesn't hunt anymore, it's been collecting dust under his wardrobe. I reassembled the gun in seconds and told him. The guy didn't set the safety properly. That's why it went off. This gun has a mechanical issue. Needs recalibration or it'll hurt someone again. Old Son looked at me like I was some kind of gun wizard. 200 yuan, he said. 80, I said. 80? Brother, I paid over 100 for it. You can't make me lose money. This gun is defective. You can either send it back to the factory or sell it as is and wait for someone to die. Your choice. He stared at me. I stared back. I added the magic words. I can fix it. Nobody else can. In anyone else's hands. This is scrap metal that might kill the person holding it. 3 solid minutes of internal struggle. I could practically hear the gears grinding in his head. Finally, fine. 80. But you better think of me when you bag something good. Then came the cherry on top. A whole crate of ammo. I opened it and nearly whistled out loud. 400 plus rounds of 7.62 millimeters. Made sense though. This was a Type 80 submachine pistol. On full auto, it empties a 20-round magazine in 3 seconds. 400 rounds is basically a Tuesday afternoon. Final deal. The gun, a spare magazine, a bayonet stock combo, and 400 rounds of ammunition. Total cost, 100 yuan. 10 crisp bills, gone. Hongen watched half our fortune evaporate and looked like someone had kicked his puppy. He didn't dare say anything in front of Old Son, but the second we stepped out of the yard, the dam broke. Bro, 100 yuan. You could marry Sister Lon for less than that. Do you know how much corn that buys? We could eat flatbread every day. I kicked him in the butt. All you think about is eating. I patted the gun box. With this baby, we're going to have many hundreds of yuan. Many hundreds? Are we catching more frogs? Because you can't shoot frogs with that. They'd explode, and exploded frogs are worth nothing. We're not catching frogs. We're going into the deep mountains. Wolves, bears, leopards, tigers. Think about how many hundreds those are worth. His eyes went full anime sparkle mode. Bro, let's go right now. Get the other 3 brothers. We'll hunt leopards. We'll build a house bigger than Old Son's. We'll eat flatbread every day, meat every meal. And each of us brothers will marry 2 wives. And Dad gets one too. I laughed so hard I almost fell off the mule. This kid went from 100 yuan is too much for a gun to 5 brothers with 2 wives each in under 30 seconds. But honestly, in this era, if you had a big brick house and ate meat daily, women really would be lining up. Polygamy was technically illegal, but out here in the borderlands, if nobody files paperwork, who's going to check? You just live together, make babies, and mind your business. We hit the supply store next. I was starving, my stomach was performing its own percussion concert. So first stop, the bun seller. I slapped down 10 yuan and bought 50 steamed buns. Hongen and I housed 7 or 8 each while walking. The remaining 30-something went in a bag for home. At the supply store, I went on a shopping spree. 10 jean of soybean oil, 8 mao per jean, because this family is so oil-deprived that food tastes like cardboard. 10 jean of the fattiest pork belly I could find, including some gorgeous 5-layer cuts. In my past life, I avoided fatty meat. After 2 days in this body, I was ready to marry a pork chop. I planned to make red braised pork tonight, and I did not intend to share willingly. 50 gene of rice at 3 mao per gene, because a man cannot survive on corn alone. A carton of Dakium and cigarettes. This body never smoked, but my soul is a chain smoker, and it's been suffering. Various seasonings, spices. Some bean cakes for the horse, because even the livestock deserves a treat after today. 40 plus yuan gone. The supply store clerk stared at us like we were teenage bank robbers on a spending spree. I could feel her mentally calculating whether our parents would beat us to death when we got home. We loaded everything onto the horse, climbed aboard our respective rides, and headed home around 2 in the afternoon. Northeast China gets dark absurdly early, 4 or 5 p.m. in autumn, 3 p.m. in winter. So we took our time, bellies full of buns, moseying along like two cowboys returning from the world's most productive day. We were almost home when dusk was settling in. Could practically see our house. That's when we ran into a villager and everything stopped being funny. Something happened at the river. We hadn't even reached the house when a villager hit us with the classic rural cliffhanger. Something happened at the river. I tossed the mule's reins to Hongyan and sprinted to East River. Shouldn't be drowning season. The water's not even that deep and most villagers can swim. But a crowd was already packed tight around the riverbank, and lying on the ground was Wang Guafu, the village widow, soaking wet, barely breathing, belly swollen with water like a human water balloon. Here's what happened. She was washing clothes by the river when a wild boar came out of nowhere and charged her. By pure dumb luck, she was bent over picking up laundry, so the boar's tusks scraped up her back instead of hitting her full force. The impact knocked her into the river. She can't swim. By the time villagers heard her screaming and pulled her out, she was more water than woman, and nobody was helping her. Why? Because she's an outsider, married into the village less than 6 months ago. Her husband went hunting in the mountains and never came back. His parents died of grief shortly after. She's alone, no family connections, no allies. In 1980s rural China, that basically makes you invisible. Oh, and some genius in the crowd announced. She swallowed a ghost baby. That's why her stomach is so big. I wanted to slap someone. That's not a ghost baby, you superstitious potato. That's water. She drank half the river. I pushed through the crowd, checked her pulse, faint but there. Checked her eyes, lights going dim. I laid her flat and started unbuttoning her shirt because wet clothes were restricting her breathing. Got 3 buttons in and froze. She wasn't wearing anything underneath. If I kept going, every man in the village was about to get a free show. The crowd, naturally, was already losing its mind. Isn't that Luke Wuqiang's oldest boy? Didn't he just graduate? Isn't he with the lawn girl? They're practically engaged, and he's stripping a dying widow in broad daylight. I ignored all of it and yelled at my dad and future father-in-law. Dad, Uncle Wu, get every man out of here. She's still alive. I need to remove her clothes for ventilation. My dad looked at me like I'd suggested we fly to the moon. His face said, Son, are you sure you're rescuing this woman and not just being a pervert? In front of the entire village? And your future father-in-law? Thank God for Uncle Wu. The man's ex-military and has actual brain cells. He looked at my dad and said, I watched Hanjun grow up. He's not that kind of kid. Then he told everyone to scram. The men left. Dad and Uncle Wu turned around. Then Dad realized. Wait, we turned around, but my 18-year-old son is still back there with the naked, unconscious widow, and started to spin back. Uncle Wu grabbed his arm, shook his head, and held him in place. Legend. I got to work. CPR. Chest compressions. Yes, I saw things. No, this was not the time to think about them. I pressed and pressed until she coughed up water. Flipped her face down over my knee. Thumped her back until more water poured out of her mouth and nose. Laid her flat again. Pinched her nose. Mouth to mouth. More compressions. Repeat. Finally, she coughed up one massive wave of water and started breathing on her own. I pulled her upright, threw clothes over her chest, and the crisis was over. Dad and Uncle Wu turned around, staring at the living, breathing woman who'd been basically dead 5 minutes ago. The village women, who'd been watching the whole time, had their own interpretation. Did you see that? She was practically dead and Lu's boy just touched her and kissed her, and she came back to life? I wanted to dig a hole and bury myself in it. I got Xiaolon to come help Wang Jie change into dry clothes. As I was leaving, Xiaolon stopped me, face red as a tomato, and whispered, Hongjuanji, does that kissing thing. really cure people? It's called CPR and mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. They teach it in school. She looked unconvinced. But you did that to Wang Jia. I opened my mouth, closed it, opened it again. There was literally no combination of words in any language that would fix this situation. I gave up. Just go change her clothes. Come to our house for dinner. I'm cooking. Back home, I walked in to discover Hongyan had already ratted me out about everything. The whole day. The frogs, the selling, the money, the gun, all of it. Dad and Uncle Wu were sitting on the Kong, waiting for me like two judges at a tribunal. I handed them cigarettes. Uncle Wu accepted. Dad rejected mine and grabbed his own old-school pipe instead because he's dramatic like that. Explain, Dad said, pointing at the gun boxes on the floor. How did you make that much money? Why did you buy that? And are you absolutely certain you were rescuing that woman and not committing a crime? I assured him CPR was a real medical technique I learned in school. Uncle Wu backed me up. Actually, now that you mention it, we had something like that in the army. Pressing it. Kissing. Dad's eyes went distant. Yeah, but in the army, it was always the female medics doing it to the soldiers. Every man was jealous of the guy getting rescued. He caught himself mid-sentence and slammed his mouth shut. Uncle Wu just smiled at him. Dad's face went red. Then Dad pivoted hard back to angry dad mode. And another thing. Old Five says you're planning to go into the deep forest to hunt tigers? You think you're tough now? I immediately backpedaled. No, Dad. Just the forest edge. Pheasants and rabbits. A little extra meat and cash. My job hasn't come through. I can't just sit at home. That's when Hongyan, my beloved, trusted idiot, brother, helpfully chimed in. But bro, you literally told me we were going to hunt bears and tigers and sell them, and each marry 3 wives. Dead. Silence. Dad's face could have cracked stone. I could feel my future father-in-law's eyes boring into the side of my skull. Dad was thinking, even if that's true, you absolute moron. You do not say that in front of the man whose daughter your brother is supposed to marry. I glared at Hongyan with the fury of 1,000 suns. That was me talking crap, okay? But Uncle Wu, absolute champion, greatest future father-in-law in the history of mankind, burst out laughing. Wonderful. Hongjun, if you've got the skills, I'll personally approve however many wives you want. As long as my daughter eats well, dresses well, doesn't get bullied, and lives comfortably. Marry 10 women for all I care. The extra wives can help take care of Xiaolon. A capable man should have multiple wives. Dad nearly had a stroke. Old Wu, you're his future father-in-law. You can't say things like that. I was dying. I wanted so badly to look Uncle Wu in the eye and say, Old man, you are the greatest father-in-law who has ever lived. I will take care of you forever. But if those words left my mouth, my dad would have beaten me to death on the spot. So instead I just said, Dad, Uncle Wu, sit tight. I'm making dinner tonight. Let me show you what I can do. Time to cook. Because apparently saving a woman's life, earning 4 months' salary, buying a gun, and getting permission to be a polygamist wasn't enough for one day. Time to cook. And I don't mean boil some corn grits and cry, cooking. I mean real cooking. Red braised pork. The kind of meal this family has never seen in their entire lives. I scooped out 8 bowls of rice, 1 per head, and washed it 3 times because 1980s rice comes with free bonus sand that'll crack your teeth like walnuts. Put the rice on to boil, then got to work on the star of the show. Tenjin of gorgeous fatty pork belly. I laid its skin down in a dry hot wok and seared it until the skin was black and crispy, scraped off the char, and cut it into mahjong tile-sized cubes. Normally I'd go smaller, but these people haven't tasted oil in months. Nobody here is going to complain about big chunks of pork. The word greasy doesn't exist in their vocabulary. Greasy is the goal. I rendered the fat out first, golden and beautiful, and poured the extra lard into a jar. In this era, pork lard is basically liquid gold. Then I tossed in green onions, soy sauce. No cooking wine or dark soy available, but whatever. Added water, salt, and let it braise. That's when Xiaolon walked in and the kitchen situation got complicated. Wow, Hongjunji, it smells amazing. Let me help with the fire. She gently kicked Hongyan off the fire-tending stool. The kid looked genuinely confused. People are fighting over the chance to do chores? Are you sick? He wandered off to find the other brothers. Xiaolon squatted down by the stove, and then, because apparently today's theme is make Hongjun's life impossible, She looked up at me and asked, Hongjuanji, today when you touched her, was that really to save her life? My hand jerked, and I nearly dropped an entire jug of oil into the wok. Xiaolon, I've told you. It's called CPR. CPR. But did you actually touch them? Through clenched teeth. Yes. Because that's how CPR works. She looked down and mumbled something that nearly gave me a heart attack. Well, it's fine if you touch them. I have them too. Mine aren't as big as Wang Jie's, but I heard if you rub them they get bigger. Besides, Wang Jie probably didn't mind you touching hers anyway. My blood pressure hit numbers that haven't been invented yet. My brain made a sound like a dial-up modem crashing. I tapped her head with the spatula and said, stop thinking crazy things and tend the fire. I threw myself into cooking the forest frogs to distract myself from the absolute chaos that is my love life. Squeeze the frog from back to front. The stomach pops out the mouth. Rinse. Into the wok with soybean paste, chili, and potatoes. Simple. Delicious. Much less stressful than conversations with my girlfriend. I glanced at Xiaolon on her little stool, and my eyes accidentally drifted to the patch of white skin visible at her collar. Abort. Abort. Eyes up. Think about dead fish. Think about snow. Think about anything else. But because my mouth has no connection to my survival instincts, I heard myself say, so Xiaolon, when are you going to let me touch yours? She froze. Turned red from neck to hairline. Then in a voice smaller than a mosquito, not right now, not right now. That means, Uncle Wu walked in sniffing the air like a bear following honey. Smells incredible. I'm going home to grab my half bottle of wine. And just like that, the moment evaporated. Probably for the best. I was about to have a brain malfunction. Dinner was served. A massive basin of red braised pork. A pot of forest frog stewed with potatoes and soybean paste. 8 bowls of white rice. I set aside a portion for the widow before putting everything on the table. The 4 brothers took one look and lost their minds. This is better than New Year's. It smells like heaven. I put the first piece of pork in Xiaolan's bowl. She blushed, noticed both dads watching her with big stupid grins, and shoved the whole chunk in her mouth. MMPH. Hongjuanji. So good. The 4 brothers attacked the food like wolves. Everyone was moaning with their mouths full. Dad and Uncle Wu sipped wine and watched us like proud kings surveying their kingdom. I ate a piece myself, and, okay. Yes, it was incredible. Even the lard-soaked rice that my brain said was disgusting, my body was shoveling in like there was no tomorrow. After days of oil-free sadness food, my cells were throwing a parade. 10 gene of pork, 8 bowls of rice, a whole pot of frog stew. 8 people demolished almost everything. The younger brothers were literally pouring pork sauce over rice and eating it like soup. I watched and thought, that's disgusting. Then I did the same thing. Uncle Wu watched Xiaolan's love-struck face as I fed her pork, sighed dramatically, and said, I raised that girl for 18 years and this boy stole her with 1 bowl of braised pork. Dad shot back. Stole? She was always my Liu family's daughter-in-law. After dinner, I lit cigarettes for both dads. My dad glared at me. Where'd you learn to smoke? That stuff costs money. Then watched me inhale like a 30-year veteran and added, you smoke better than I do. You've clearly been at this a while. I smiled and said nothing. Couldn't exactly explain that my previous body smoked for decades. Then I grabbed Xiaolon to deliver food to Wang Jie. As soon as we were alone, Xiaolon whispered, Hongjuanji. Not here, everyone's around. Maybe when there's nobody else. I'll let you touch. I flicked her forehead. I'm taking you to bring food to Wang Jie. You little maniac. Her face went nuclear red. She punched my arm. You're so mean. We walked to Wang Jie's house the long way around so we could hold hands in the dark a little longer. Her hand was warm and small, and she didn't pull away. Some things are the same in every century. Wang Jie was sitting on her Kong in the dark, no dinner, injured back, alone. When she saw the food, she started crying. Nobody had thought of her in a long time. She ate everything. Every grain of rice, every piece of pork, every bit of frog. Then she asked me to look at her injury. The boar had scraped her back pretty badly. She was too embarrassed to ask directly, just kept fidgeting. Xiaolon, my sweet, filter-free girlfriend, helpfully announced. Oh, come on, Wang Jie. He already touched your boobs and kissed your mouth today. What's a butt compared to that? I am going to die of embarrassment before any bear or tiger gets the chance to kill me. Xiaolon flipped up Wang Jie's shirt and pulled down the blanket. Wang Jie was only wearing red underwear underneath. My brain unhelpfully noted. Red underwear. Is it her zodiac year? Focus. Professional mode. The wound ran about a foot long from her lower back upward. Swollen and red, but no bleeding, no broken bones. I pressed around carefully. She shivered, but no sharp pain response. Good. I had Xiaolan prepare a warm towel compress, applied it to the wound, covered her back up, and told her to keep it on until it cooled. Thank you both, Wang Jie said, looking at me with an expression that made me want to flee the country. You saved my life today, Hongjun. When I'm better, I'll properly thank you. I wanted to say, how exactly are you planning to thank me? But my last functioning brain cell grabbed that sentence and strangled it before it reached my mouth. Instead, I said, no need, grabbed Xiaolan's hand, and basically sprinted out the door. Behind us, I could swear I heard Wang Jie laughing. Day 2 in the 1980s. Earned 4 months' salary, bought a submachine pistol, performed CPR on a naked widow, cooked a feast, got permission from my father-in-law to marry multiple women, and my girlfriend offered to let me touch her chest when nobody's around. I need to lie down. On a brick Kong. In the dark. Because there's no electricity. Welcome to my new life. That night, I lay on the Kong planning tomorrow's mission. Find the wild boar that attacked Wang Jie and put a bullet in it. A boar that's tasted human contact once will do it again. Kids play by that river. Next time someone might not be lucky enough to have a time-traveling mercenary nearby with CPR skills. I was deep in sleep when something started poking me in the dark. I cracked one eye open, still pitch black outside. And there's Hongin, whispering like we're behind enemy lines. Bro, wake up. Aren't we going to the mountain today? I was about to curse him out when 3 more heads popped up behind him like prairie dogs. 8 eyeballs glowing in the darkness. All 4 brothers were wide awake, lined up, vibrating with excitement. They'd clearly been lying there for hours waiting for an acceptable time to wake me up. They'd picked an unacceptable time instead. Dad was already sitting at the head of the Kong, smoking his pipe in the dark like some kind of rural philosopher. He saw me look over and said, let them go with you. They're useless here anyway. Gee, thanks, Dad. Breakfast was leftover rice turned into porridge, reheated buns from yesterday, and roasted dried chili crumbled into pickled radish. Simple but honestly delicious. After eating, I hit a logistics problem. 5 brothers, 2 animals. You can't fit 5 guys on a horse and a mule. Third brother solved it instantly. Let's hitch the cart, right? We have a cart. I'm a genius mercenary who forgot about the cart. I went inside to gear up. Pulled the Type 80 from its box, loaded both magazines, 40 rounds. Stuffed another 40 loose rounds in my pockets because this gun still needed calibrating. Strapped the bayonet stock to my leg wrap instead of mounting it on the gun. In dense forest, 50 meters is all you need. At 100 meters, your bullet's playing pinball off tree branches anyway. All those movie scenes of sniping running deer from 800 meters? 2 lifetimes as a mercenary, and I've never pulled that off either. Nobody has. That's not marksmanship, that's fiction. I packed the leftover buns, a small bag of salt. In the mountains, as long as you have salt, you'll never go hungry, and headed out. We were at the village entrance, almost free and clear, when a massive shadow burst out of nowhere and blocked our path. 6 feet tall, shoulders like a refrigerator. The biggest human being in the entire village. This was Wang Shatzi, Wang the Fool, the village idiot. About 30 years old, no family anyone knows of, no real job. He used to help kids watch the pigs and cattle for the production team. People called him the village guardian. Supposedly when disaster comes, he'll sacrifice himself to protect the village. Mostly he just showed up at every wedding and funeral for free food. I walked over to greet him and realized I didn't know his actual name. Everyone just calls him the Fool. You can't exactly say, hey fool, to a man's face. He solved that himself. Just call me Wang Shatzi. Everyone does. I handed him a cigarette. What's up, Brother Wang? He grabbed my arm and pulled me away from the cart with an urgent, secretive look. Then, in the most serious voice imaginable, he asked, Hongjun, do you know what Shashirbaya is? Shakespeare. This man just asked me about Shakespeare. In a tiny mountain village in northeast China. From the mouth of the village idiot. My brain needed a moment. Yeah, I know Shakespeare. How do you know about Shakespeare? He nodded gravely. See, I knew you'd know. You're the smartest person in the village. Then, I don't actually know what it is. Then where did you hear the name? It's not a name. I heard on the radio that an old monk was dying, and his last words were Sha Shurbaya, Sha Shurbaya over and over. I don't want to die like that monk, not knowing what Sha Shurbaya is. The monk was a monk his whole life, probably never even saw a woman, so he definitely didn't know Sha Shurbaya. I've seen women, but I also don't know Sha Shurbaya. Hongjun, if you can show me Sha Shurbaya, my life belongs to you. They say I can block disaster for the village. I don't know about that, but I would absolutely die for you. My brain buffered for about 10 seconds. Then it hit me like a freight train. The old monk wasn't saying Shakespeare. He was saying Sha Shurbaya. What is PY? The dying monk wasn't making a literary reference. He was a lifelong celibate who'd never been with a woman, and his literal last words were wondering what he'd missed. And Wang Shatzi had heard this on the radio and made it his life's mission to find out. Brother Wang. The monk wasn't making a prophecy. He was asking, what does it feel like? He died never knowing. Wang Shatzi nodded frantically. Yes, that's exactly it. See, you understand everything. You're the smartest person alive. Hongjun, I heard you can touch women's chests and bring them back to life. Teach me that. Then I'll never run out of chests to touch, and I can save people. I swear to God. If I find out who spread the touching breasts saves lives version of yesterday's CPR story, I will shoot them with my new gun. But looking at this giant sad man, I actually felt bad. He's 30-something, alone, can barely feed himself, and no woman will ever marry him. He might genuinely go his entire life without human intimacy. And if he gets desperate enough to do something stupid with someone's wife or daughter, that would be a disaster. Then I had an idea. A terrible, beautiful idea. Wang Ji, I'll help you. But here's the deal. You come work with me in the mountains. We hunt together. I'll pay you your share. Once you've got money, we'll figure out the woman's situation. His eyes went supernova. Yes, I'll come to the mountain. I don't even need money. I don't need a wife. I can't feed a wife. Just let me experience it once, and I'll follow you forever. I'm strong. I can work. Fine. We'd figure out the details later. Worst case, I take him to the city where certain professional services exist for a few yuan. Consider it a charitable donation. I gave him 2 buns for the road. My fourth brother watched this with visible pain on his face. Those were meat buns, and he'd only tasted meat buns for the first time yesterday, but I smacked the back of his head and told him to stop being stingy. And stop calling him Wang Shatzi. Call him Brother Wang. He's not stupid, and he really isn't. A man who can't read or write, but figured out the meaning of a dying monk's last words and turned it into a personal life quest. That's not stupidity. That's focus. So now we were 6. 5 Liu brothers plus 1 enormous, woman-obsessed village guardian, rolling toward the mountains on a horse cart with a submachine pistol, 40 buns, and big dreams. We hit the oak forest. I took Wang Ji and Hong in to check yesterday's snares while the other 3 unhitched the cart and let the animals graze. The haul was decent. For pheasants, 3 rabbits. Not as good as day 1, but the horsehair snares were basically falling apart after 2 uses. I'd need to buy wire in town next time. No way was I yanking more hair off that horse. At this rate, it'd be bald-tailed by next week. I was just about to head deeper into the forest with my gun when Wang Ji came crashing out of the trees, eyes wild, arms waving. Pigs. Pigs. Hongjuan. I saw pigs. Pigs? I snapped to attention. Where? Wang Ji pointed behind him. Over that ridge. In the pine forest. A whole pack of them. His clothes were shredded. Torn shirt, ripped pants. He bushwhacked through dense forest at full speed with zero regard for his own body. Turns out, while I was checking snares, he'd decided to independently scout the entire mountain for game. No weapon. No backup. No plan. Just a giant man crashing through the wilderness looking for things I could shoot. I turned and walked toward the cart. Wang Ji panicked. Hongjun, the pigs are that way. You're going the wrong direction. I glared at him. Just follow me. Back at the cart, I put the pheasants and rabbits away, then faced all 5 of them with my most serious expression. Listen up. From this moment forward, when we're in the forest, you do exactly what I say. I say walk, you walk. I say stop, you stop. I say hide, you hide. You don't even piss without my permission. They looked confused. I explained. This is the deep forest. We're not just hunters here, we're also prey. Everything out there that we're trying to kill is also trying to kill us. Every year, Experienced hunters with proper guns die in these mountains. You idiots don't even have sticks. Wang Ji went in there alone with nothing. If he'd stumbled into 2 wolves, we wouldn't have found his body. You follow my rules, or you stay home. Pick one. They all nodded frantically. Good. One person stays with the cart at all times. We're not coming back from a hunt to find our horse stolen. 5 guys looked at each other. Nobody wanted guard duty. Finally, second brother volunteered to stay first. We'd rotate. Now the gun. I still needed to calibrate it. I aimed at a tree 50 meters away. 2 shots. Both off by about 10 centimeters. Adjusted. 2 more shots. Off by 2 or 3 centimeters. About a 9-ring hit. Good enough. The gun was fine. The problem was this body. It had never held a weapon before. No muscle memory, no feel. My brain knew exactly where the bullet should go. My hands hadn't gotten the memo yet. That would improve with practice. Every sharpshooter in history was made by burning through thousands of rounds, not by talent. I licked my thumb, held it up. East wind. Checked the terrain. Then I led the group in the opposite direction from where Wang Ji had seen the pigs. Hongjun. The pigs are that way. It's an east wind, genius. If we walk toward them from this side, the wind carries our scent straight to their noses. They'll smell us from 200 meters and be gone before we see them. We circle to the downwind side. I also told them that once we got close, everyone hides behind a tree. If a pig charges, climb. Do not try to be a hero. Getting hit by a running wild boar isn't a joke. Light impact, broken bones. Heavy impact, death. And if one hits you in the crotch, well, you'll never need a wife because you'll have nothing to offer her. Every single one of them instinctively squeezed their legs together. The village's Zhang kid got his equipment destroyed by a domestic pig as a child. He eventually married, but still has no children. And that was a tame pig. A wild boar would leave nothing behind. Wang Ji's 30-minute sprint took us over an hour to replicate quietly. We reached the pine forest edge. The pig herd was about 300 meters away, on the other side. I positioned the 4 of them behind big trees, then pulled the bayonet stock off my leg and handed it to Wang Ji in knife mode. If something charges and you can't dodge, stab it. He was the only one I trusted with a blade. My 3 teenage brothers had never seen real danger. If a boar charged them, they'd wet themselves before they'd fight. I loaded up, clicked off the safety, and crept into the forest alone. 100 meters in, I could smell it. That thick, musky pig stink. The sound of snouts rooting through dirt. Grunts and snorts. Another 100 meters, and the smell was overwhelming. I found a good position behind a massive pine tree, 2-person-wide trunk, and peered out. Just as I'd guessed, the herd was between the pine and oak forests, in a clearing of short oak scrub, rooting for acorns. And what a herd. The boss was a monster, a 400-gene boar with tusks that could gut a horse. 3 sows around 300 gene each, and about a dozen young ones, maybe 150 gene apiece. The big boar wasn't eating. He was rubbing against a pine tree, coating himself in sap. This is how wild boars make armor. Pine resin, mud, and bristle hair, layered and dried until their hide is basically concrete. My pistol rounds would bounce off his body like spitballs. I needed a headshot. Specifically, I needed him facing me. I waited, and waited, and waited. 10 minutes of nothing but a gigantic pig butt and swinging pig balls right in my line of sight. I was so tempted to shoot him right in the rear end. Bullet through the back door, intestinal chaos, flowers of destruction blooming from his, no. Focus. A 400-gene boar with a gut wound and a bad attitude would be the last thing I ever saw. My left foot was going numb. I shifted slightly and, crack, stepped on a dry twig. The boar's enormous backside vanished. 3 seconds later, a pig face appeared, tusks bared, staring right at me from 30 meters. Bang, bang, 2 shots, less than 1 second apart. First aimed at the mouth. Bullet enters through the open jaw, punches into the brain. Second aimed at the forehead. Insurance shot, because if the pig flinched from the first shot, the second would catch an eye socket instead. In my past life, at this distance, 1 shot would have been enough. But this body's hands weren't steady enough for guarantees. Good thing I doubled up. The boar twitched at the first shot. The mouth bullet tore through his cheek instead of entering the brain. But the forehead bullet drilled straight through his eye. He dropped like a sack of cement without making a sound. The herd exploded. 2 sows and 5 young ones stampeded straight toward me. I pressed my back against the tree. Calm. Breathe. Bang bang. Bang bang. 9 more shots. Rapid fire. I lowered the gun, rubbed my aching shoulder. This body was not built for recoil, and surveyed the damage. The big bore, super dead. One sow. Bullet through the eye, also super dead. Second sow. Hit in the jaw. Escaped into the pine forest, same direction my guys were hiding. 5 young boars. All down. 3 weren't dead yet, just thrashing and screaming on the ground. First thing I did, not check the kills. I ejected the magazine, slapped in the spare, then reloaded the empty one. Jungle rule number 1. Your gun is always full. A half-empty magazine is a death sentence waiting to happen. Then I remembered, the injured sow ran toward my people. I grabbed the gun and sprinted into the pines. Found all 4 of them walking toward me, drawn by the gunshots. Thank God the sow had kept running. I traced the blood trail on the ground, bright red. Surface wound, jaw hit, just like I thought. Dark red would mean internal organs. Not worth chasing a 300-gene sow with a sore mouth and working legs. We walked back to the killing field. Wang Ji immediately lunged toward a half-dead young boar. I kicked him in the butt. My foot bounced off him like I'd kicked a tree trunk. Nearly fell over from my own kick. It's still alive, you maniac. A dying pig's kick can break your leg. Or hit you in the. And then no woman ever. Wang Ji instantly backed up 2 steps and covered his crotch with both hands. This man will face 400 gene boars without blinking, but the mere suggestion of groin damage sends him into full retreat. His priorities are absolutely unshakable. I showed them how to finish the wounded ones, approach from behind, knife to the neck, aim for the heart. My brothers hesitated. Wang Ji grabbed the bayonet, walked up to a squealing boar, and buried the blade in its neck like he was cutting bread. Like this, Hongjun. What next? Pull the knife out, and the blood comes out. He went down the line. Alive? Stab. Dead. Also stab. Gotta drain the blood or the meat tastes like a wet dog smells. Now came the real problem. 1 400-gene boar, 1 300-gene sow, 5 150-gene piglets, and 5 guys who needed to somehow move all of this to the river. I was strategizing when Wang Ji walked over, said, I'll take the big ones, grabbed the boar's hind leg with one hand, scooped up a piglet with the other, and walked away dragging 600 gene of dead pig like it was a shopping bag. My jaw was on the floor. In my previous life, at peak fitness, I could barely match that. This man did it like it was nothing. Third brother grabbed the sow, 300 gene, and dragged it off with visible effort, but no complaints. That left me, fourth brother, and Hongen, the 3 weakest members of the squad, staring at 4 remaining piglets. We each grabbed one and could barely manage. 150 gene of dead weight across rough terrain had us gasping and stumbling. After about a mile, Wang Ji came strolling back from his completed delivery, looked at our pathetic struggle, said, "One left, right? I'll get it," and jogged past us to grab the last one. I have hired professional soldiers who were less useful than this man. 5 of us dragged over 1,000 gene of dead pig to the riverbank. Everyone was fine except me. I was lying on the ground like a deflated balloon. My 15-year-old brothers who do farm work every day, barely winded. Wang Ji looked like he'd just taken a stroll to the mailbox. I sent Hong in to fetch the cart, then started giving orders. Third brother, go cut some skewer sticks. Fourth brother, gather firewood. Wang Ji, help me skin this piglet. We had 150 gene piglet skinned and gutted in 10 minutes flat. I carved off a gorgeous strip of pork belly, 5 or 6 gene, fat marbled with lean. Cut it into chunks, salted it, and threaded 6 massive skewers. 1 gene of meat per skewer, minimum. Fourth brother got the fire going. I handed him skewer duty while Wang Ji and I gutted the rest. By the time the cart arrived, the meat was done. 6 men, 6 skewers, each one dripping fat into the flames. We sat there, exhausted, filthy, covered in pig blood, eating sizzling meat skewers and leftover buns like kings. Nobody spoke. When you're that hungry and that tired, a skewer of wild boar with nothing but salt is a religious experience. Loading the cart was an engineering challenge. The big boar alone was 300 gene after skinning. The sow, 200 plus. 5 piglets at 100-something each. The cart was groaning under the weight. No road along the river, just rocks and bumps. We all walked alongside instead of riding. 7 or 8 li back to the village. Took over an hour on that terrain. We rolled in around 1 in the afternoon, and every single person we passed nearly fell over. Where did all that meat come from? You have to understand. These people eat meat maybe once or twice a year. Nobody keeps pigs because there's no feed. People can't even feed themselves, let alone a pig. The few families that do raise one spend 2 or 3 years getting it to 200 gene, and then they guard that meat like treasure all winter. Everyone started asking to buy some. But I had a different plan. Nobody's buying anything. I'm giving it away. Every family gets some. I sent Hong into the village office. Tell Dad to get on the loudspeaker. Free pork for every household. Come to our place. See? The whole village had been helping build our livestock shed for days. We hadn't properly thanked anyone. And I'm about to marry Xiaolan, which means I'll need these same people to help build a house. In rural China, your social capital is your wealth. 100 gene of free pork today buys 1,000 gene of goodwill tomorrow. On the way home, I passed Xiaolan and Wang Jie chatting outside. Wang Jie looked recovered. I patted Xiaolan's head and told everyone to come eat tonight. Wang Jie protested. You saved my life and I haven't even thanked you yet. How can I eat your food again? I waved it off. At home, everyone dove for the water bucket and drank like camels. Note to self for the millionth time. Bring water next time. Being hungry is survivable. Being this thirsty is torture. We stored the big boar, the sow, and 3 piglets in the storage shed. I kept 2 piglets, about 200 gene total, for the village distribution. Temperatures were below 0 at night already, so the meat would keep fine. I carved out all 4 racks of ribs for myself first. Nobody in this era wants ribs, not enough fat. People here measure food quality by grease content. If it doesn't leave a shiny film on your lips, it's not worth eating. Ribs are too lean, their loss my gain. 20+ gene of beautiful pork ribs, all mine. I cut some pork fat, heated the wok, rendered out the lard, tossed in dried beans, then the ribs, soy sauce, a fistful of coarse salt, 2 scoops of water, and stuck corn cake batter around the rim of the pot. Iron pot stew with cornbread, the Northeast China classic that would become a whole restaurant genre in the future. Right now it was just called dinner. I just finished when Dad burst into the yard, grabbed me by the arm, dragged me into the bedroom, and shut the door. What the hell are you doing? You told Hong In to broadcast we're giving away meat? We can barely feed ourselves, and you're playing Santa Claus? I explained. 1,000 gene of pig. Village gets 200 gene. We sell the rest in town for several hundred yuan. Plus, we need these people's help when I build a house to marry Xiaolan. Dad paused, took a drag of his pipe, thought about it. Fine, but stop talking like 200 gene of meat is nothing. I haven't eaten 200 gene of meat in my entire life. He left to make the announcement. The loudspeaker crackled to life, but it wasn't Dad's voice. It was Uncle Wu. Attention villagers. Lu Hongjun hunted wild boar today and is giving free pork to every household. Come to Lu Hongjuan's house immediately. He used my name. Not Dad's. Not the family name. Mine. I understood instantly. This was Uncle Wu building my personal reputation in the village before my wedding. Making sure everyone knew me as the generous provider. Political genius, that old soldier. I cut the 2 piglets into 5 gene portions, trying to balance fat and lean in each share. No scales in the village. Everything by hand and feel. Each piece came out 5 gene plus, give or take 2 liang. Xiaolan distributed the meat as families arrived, looking every bit the lady of the house. The gratitude was real. Every single person who came said something kind. Hongjuan's so capable. Hongjun and Xiaolan are perfect together. Lu family raised a great son. No jealousy, no scheming, no backhanded compliments. In this era, everyone's equally poor. Nobody has energy for pettiness. Neighbors help neighbors because that's how you survive. After everyone left, I divided the leftover 20-something gene into 3 parts. 1 for us, 1 for Uncle Wu's family, 1 for Wang Jie. I considered giving some to Wang Ji, but honestly, I wasn't sure the man even owned a pot. Dinner was the iron pot special, ribs braised with dried beans and cornbread. The ribs fell off the bone. The beans were soaked in pork fat and bubbling. The cornbread had that natural sweetness you can't get from modern chemically fertilized corn. Everyone ate in stunned, greasy silence. Then the 2 dads lit their pipes, and the lecture began. Uncle Wu went first. Hongjun, I've watched you grow up. I don't have a son. I've always considered you my son-in-law. Your father won't say this, so I will. What you did today was reckless. One gun against a pig herd? Yes, you came home with meat. The whole village is celebrating. But what if something had gone wrong? What about Xiaolon? What about your brothers? I raised them too. Every one of them is like my own son. And you brought Wang Shatzi. He pointed at Wang Ji, who was still eating, completely unbothered. This man once tried to milk a bull. A male bull. He grabbed the bull by the testicles and lashed his mouth onto. Anyway, the bull dragged him through 3 streets before kicking him unconscious. He almost died. The brothers were biting their lips, trying not to laugh. And remember when you told him frozen metal tastes sweet in winter? He went straight outside and licked a metal pole. If I hadn't walked by, he'd have lost his tongue. Wang Ji continued eating as if none of this was about him. Dad smacked his pipe. Stop laughing. Next time someone gets hurt, nobody will be laughing, I thought. You're literally eating the pork I risked my life for. You had 3 helpings. But the warmth behind the scolding was real. Being worried about is nice. New feeling for a former mercenary. I put on my best good son face. Dad, Uncle Wu, I promise I'll keep them safe. They just carry stuff. I do the dangerous part alone. And as for me personally, I'm the most careful man alive. If a wash basin looks too deep, I won't even wash my face in it. I wouldn't risk my life. I still need to marry Xiaolon and give you both grandchildren. Lots of grandchildren. Dad's pipe came swinging through the air and bonked my head. What kind of animal talk is that? You're not even married yet, and you're talking about grandchildren. But he was laughing. They both were. The evening ended with Dad threatening to skin alive anyone who disobeyed me in the mountains. In 1980s rural northeast China, parental discipline goes broom feather duster skinning. Nobody had ever been skinned, but the boys and Wang Ji all nodded so fast their heads nearly fell off. As I lay on the Kong that night, I did the math. Tomorrow we'd haul the remaining meat to town. 1 300 gene boar, 1 200 gene sow, 3 150 gene piglets, over 1,000 gene of sellable meat. Even at rough village rates, that's several hundred yuan easy. Day 3. Killed a pig army, fed an entire village, got lectured by 2 dads, and learned that Wang Ji once tried to breastfeed from a bull. This timeline is absolutely unhinged, and I love it. After dinner came the moment every unmarried man in 1980s China dreams about, the father-in-law talk. Uncle Wu stopped at the gate, turned around, and dropped the bomb. Hongjun, stop wasting time. You and Xiaolon need to get married. I don't need any bride price. Just save enough for 2 sets of bedding. I'll buy you both new clothes by year's end. You 2 are adults now, stuck together like glue every day. If something happens before the wedding, people will talk. Get married and you can do whatever you want. Xiaolan's face turned the color of a fire truck. Then Uncle Wu solved the housing problem. You 2 take my house after the wedding. I'll move in with your dad and the boys. We'll build you a new place in spring. This man. I almost cried. In my past life, I was a mercenary with no family. Now I have a father-in-law who's giving me his house and telling me to hurry up and marry his daughter. I blurted out, "Thank you, Dad." Xiaolon shoved me. "We're not married yet." "You can't call him Dad." Uncle Wu laughed, then got serious for one moment. "I only have 1 daughter. I don't care how many women you have outside, but you never abandon Xiaolon. Never divorce her, I promised." What exactly I promised? No other women, or no divorcing Xiaolon despite other women. I strategically left ambiguous. I've been reborn into an era where a capable man can have multiple women. I'd be a fool not to enjoy this timeline. I'll just make sure Xiaolon and Uncle Wu live like royalty. Next morning, we loaded up. 1 massive boar, 1 sow, 3 piglets, plus the wild birds and rabbits. Today we were skipping the town and heading straight to the county seat, 30-something li away. Better prices, bigger market. I wrapped the gun in cloth and hid it in the cart. Out here in the mountains, nobody cares about firearms. But in the county, you don't wave guns around. I brought it for the road. Wolves have been known to follow travelers, and there's a charming local trick called wolf shoulder tap, where a wolf puts its paw on your shoulder from behind. You think it's a person, turn around, and it bites your throat out. Fun fact, because of this, there's an unwritten rule in northeast China that you never silently tap someone's shoulder at night. A few years back, some guy thought it'd be hilarious to sneak up and tap his neighbor's shoulder in the dark. The neighbor, who was carrying a pig-slaughtering knife because he was terrified of wolves, spun around and stabbed the guy to death on the spot. The prankster died, and the stabber went insane from the trauma. Great prank. 10 out of 10. We set off. Before we'd gone 100 meters, we found Wang Ji standing by the roadside battling invisible enemies with a stick. A 2-meter-tall, refrigerator-wide grown man, leaping and spinning, going, HY, HY, whoosh, with a willow branch, living his best martial arts fantasy. He was so deep in his imaginary sword fight that he didn't notice our cart until he accidentally slashed the horse with his stick. The horse nearly bolted. Wang Ji snapped out of it without a shred of embarrassment. Embarrassment is a concept that simply does not exist in his operating system, and hopped on the cart. I gave him 2 corn cakes. Didn't I tell you to come eat breakfast at my house? I don't need breakfast. 1 meal a day is fine. He inhaled both cakes in 4 bites. Right. Don't need breakfast. Sure. I told everyone the deal going forward. Whatever we earn hunting, I take half. You 5 split the other half. But if you're going to spend it, don't be stupid about it. Wang Ji refused his share. I don't want money. You promised me a woman experience. That's my payment. If you feed me too, even better. Money's useless to me. I wouldn't know what to buy. Fair enough. I'd handle his finances for him. An hour later, we rolled into the county seat. My 4 brothers and Wang Ji were like kids at Disneyland, heads swiveling in every direction, mouths hanging open. They'd never even been to town, let alone the county capital. I headed straight for the supply co-op, not to sell, but to find my old school buddy Li Zijian. This kid was my best friend in school. Think of the sneakiest, most street-smart person you know, then give him glasses and a face that radiates scheming energy. They say birds of a feather flock together. Frogs find frogs, and toads find toads. The fact that he and I were best friends tells you everything about both of us. I walked in and asked the counterwoman for him. She yelled into the back room without looking at me. Out came Li Zijian, 5'8", spectacles, eyes like a fox doing mental calculations. He saw me and lunged, grabbed me in a bear hug. Hongjuan, you came to see me. I missed you so much. I shoved him off. Get off me, you weirdo. Then I whispered, I've got a cart full of wild boar. Know anyone who'll buy? His little fox eyes lit up. He checked that the counterwoman wasn't listening, dragged me outside, and handed me a red Pagoda Mountain cigarette, the fancy kind, 1.5 yuan a pack. On his 30 yuan apprentice salary, that's luxury. Where'd you get these? I asked. Some restaurant owner gave them to me as a tip. Get this. He just opened a restaurant in town and asked me to help find meat suppliers. You literally showed up with a cart full of pork. This is destiny, brother. He led us 400 meters to the restaurant, went inside, and came back with the owner, a wheezing, sweating fat man who looked like he'd eaten his own menu twice. In an era where nobody is overweight, this guy was a medical marvel. Li Ji, the restaurant boss, took one look at my cart and his eyes went wide. His chef inspected the meat, nodded approval, and we got down to business. 8 mao per gene for the boar and sow, 9 mao for the piglets. Weighed with bone. Sound fair? Fair? In town, 6 mao for the boar would have been lucky. This was 2 mao more per gene across the board. I agreed instantly. The pheasants and rabbits went for 5 yuan each, a little above town rates for the birds, same for the rabbits. Rabbit meat is just not popular. No fat, needs heavy seasoning nobody has. I wasn't going to haggle over a yuan. The weigh-in, boar plus sow, 538 gene. 3 piglets, 316 gene. Total meat money, 714.6 yuan, rounded to 715. Plus 5 birds and rabbits at 25 yuan. Grand total, 740 yuan. 740 yuan. Li Zijian stared at the stack of 74 10 yuan bills like he was watching someone win the lottery. That was more than 2 years of his salary, handed over in one transaction. Li Ji tipped us each a pack of red Pagoda Mountain cigarettes and handed me a cloth bundle of restaurant-grade seasonings, stuff you literally cannot buy in our region. Anytime you bag something in the mountains, bring it here. Even if I'm not around, my people will give you top price. I left that restaurant with 740 yuan in my pocket, rare spices in my bag, and a permanent buyer for everything I could hunt. Running total from 3 days of unemployment, 215,740 is equal to 955 yuan. Almost 1,000. The average worker makes 50 a month. I've earned 20 months' salary in 72 hours. And Dad said I should get a job. Back at the supply co-op, Li Zijian bought everyone a bottle of soda, his treat, the big spender. I did my own shopping. A few gene of iron wire for proper snares, a gene of rock sugar, a gene of fruit candy, a massive 50 gene bag of salt, some pastries, 2 hair ribbons for Shaolong, 2 cartons of Dakiaman cigarettes, and 2 bottles of Wulianya liquor. About 30 yuan total. Having a buddy at the supply co-op is everything. Salt, for instance, not expensive, but try buying 50 gene without connections. The clerk would laugh in your face. Rock sugar? Forget it. Doesn't exist without knowing someone. Li Zijian watched me burn through a month of his salary in 10 minutes and looked like he was experiencing physical pain on my behalf. I gave him a wild pheasant and a rabbit as thanks. He tried to refuse. I threw them at him. Stop being dramatic. Take it home to your mom. I'll visit her next time. He wanted me to stay for dinner. I declined. Still had business at the county hospital, plus a 40-li ride home before dark. Then he said something that made my brain stutter. Oh, you're going to the hospital? To see Han Mei, Han Mei. The name triggered a cascade of memories from this body's past. Specifically, twin ponytails, big doe eyes, and bouncing. Vigorous bouncing. Because bras don't exist yet in rural 1980s China, and Han Mei was generously equipped for vigorous bouncing. Li Zijian saw my face go blank and shoulder bumped me. I knew you were thinking about the bouncing. Turns out Han Mei, our classmate, the one whose chest had its own physics engine, had moved to the county after graduation. Her mom was a doctor at the county hospital and got her a job there. I genuinely didn't know. So you two reignited the old flame? Picked up where you left off? Li Zijian asked with maximum sleaze. There was no flame. I'm going to buy medical supplies. Penicillin, iodine, bandages, mountain hunting stuff. Suyer. What a coincidence that your medical supply needs happen to be located exactly where your bouncy ex-classmate works. The universe is mysterious. Then I remembered something. I grabbed Li Zijian's arm and whispered, Hey, do you know where in the county a man can pay for female companionship? His eyes went so wide his glasses nearly fell off. Lu Hongjuan, you're that kind of person? How could you do this to Han Mei? It's not for me. It's for him. I jerked my chin toward Wang Ji. I explained the situation. Li Zijian relaxed. The inn on the back street. 1 yuan per session. I stared at him. He'd answered way too fast. That a friend told me, he added quickly. Sure. A friend. Get out of my face. The plan? Li Zijian takes Wang Ji to the inn while I handle the hospital. Save time. Everybody's happy. We found the inn. The 4 brothers waited with the cart. Li Zijian, Wang Ji, and I went in. I needed to pay. Wang Ji had no money, and I wasn't about to make Li Zijian spend his 30 yuan salary on someone else's virginity loss. The madam sized us up. 1 yuan for the wooden plank bed. 5 yuan for the room with the spring mattress. I looked at my 2 companions. Li Zijian eyed the spring mattress like it was the holy grail, then gritted his teeth. Wooden plank is fine for me. Wang Ji, who I expected to pick the cheap option because he doesn't understand luxury, looked at me with the most serious expression. Hongjun, can I spend 5 yuan? I thought, this fool actually has taste? How does he even know about spring mattresses? But I nodded and handed the madam a 10 yuan bill. The madam smiled at Wang Ji. This young man knows how to treat himself. Let me show you to the mattress room. Wang Ji shook his head. What mattress? I want the wooden plank. 5 times. I facepalmed so hard I almost broke my own nose. Of course. He didn't want comfort. He wanted quantity. 5 rounds at 1 yuan each. Maximum value. This man approaches women the way a starving man approaches a buffet. Forget quality, just pile it high. Li Zijian's face went completely dark. The madam blinked several times, then nodded slowly and went to arrange things. I told Li Zijian to babysit Wang Ji, told Wang Ji to listen to Li Zijian, and left. At the hospital, I asked around for Han Mei and was led to her office. There she was, white coat, ponytails, writing at a desk. She looked up, saw me, and, there it was, bounced out of her chair and grabbed my arm. Hongjun, why are you here? How did you know I was here? Did you come specifically to see me? Are you working in the county now? She fired questions like a machine gun. I gave her the short version. Still in the village, here to sell meat and buy medical supplies. Heard about her from Li Zijian. Her face fell when she heard I was leaving soon. I patted her head. My signature move apparently. I've head-patted 3 different women in 3 days and told her I'd be coming to the county regularly now and would visit every time. Then I gave her one of the 2 hair ribbons I'd bought. Yes, I bought 2 ribbons. One went to Hanmei. One would go to Shaolin. If you're going to be a man in 1980s China, you might as well be an efficient one. Hanmei lit up like a lantern and spent almost 2 hours gathering everything I needed. Penicillin, iodine, gauze, painkillers, anti-inflammatories. She came back sweating. This stuff is not easy to get. Without her, I'd have walked out empty-handed. I wiped the sweat off her forehead, thanked her, and promised to bring her delicious things next time. She walked me to the hospital entrance. My 4 brothers were bored out of their minds on the cart. Introductions were made. This is your Han Magia. She scolded me for leaving them outside instead of bringing them in, promised to buy them dinner next time, and sent us off. On the way to the inn, 3rd brother asked innocently, "Brother, what were Wang Ji and Li Ji doing at the inn?" I glared at him. Kids don't need to know everything. Don't learn from those 2. When you grow up, marry a wife and live an honest life. All 4 brothers instantly dropped the subject. Annoying big brother means no meat and no money. Not worth the curiosity. We pulled up to the inn and found Li Zijian and Wang Ji squatting on the curb smoking post-mission cigarettes. The universal male signal for deed accomplished. Wang Ji just sat there grinning like a golden retriever who'd found a tennis ball factory. Li Zijian looked at me with haunted eyes. Your friend is certifiably insane. He literally risked his life in there. From the moment you left until just now, he actually used all 5 sessions. I had to physically drag him out. I was genuinely afraid he'd die on the premises. I looked at Wang Ji. He was glowing, radiant, not a trace of fatigue. If anything, he looked more energized than before. Did you have enough money? I asked Li Zijian. Yeah, I've got 3 yuan left. Here, I waved it off. Keep it. My treat. Consider it a buddy discount on your wooden plank experience. We said our goodbyes. Then I slapped my own forehead. Flashlights. I forgot to buy flashlights. We raced back to the supply co-op just before closing. Li Zijian talked the clerk into selling us 2 flashlights and 20 batteries. 1980s flashlights run on D cells, emit a pathetic yellow glow, and die after 2 or 3 hours. Welcome to the frontier. Finally, we set off for home. 6 men, 1 cart, 740 yuan richer, a bag full of medical supplies, 2 flashlights, 50 gene of salt, a satisfied village idiot, and a best friend who'll deny his and visit to his grave. The sun was already low. 40 li to go. The wolves come out at dark. Let's ride. The ride home was easy. Empty cart, 1 horse, 1 mule, 6 guys. Should make it before dark. Everyone was starving except Wang Ji, who was half lying in the cart staring at the sky with the expression of a man who'd just discovered the meaning of life. 2 hours. 5 sessions. 5 yuan well spent. I passed around the pastries. Wang Ji snapped back to consciousness the instant food appeared, grabbed 2 pieces, and shoved both into his mouth simultaneously. Then he turned to me with shining eyes. Hongjun, let me tell you about. I crammed a pastry into his open mouth before he could finish. Do not. You keep that to yourself. I have 4 underage brothers on this cart. He swallowed the pastry whole. I'm not even sure he chewed. And those things are dry. And nodded enthusiastically. Right. Can't corrupt the children. I'll tell you when we're alone. I kicked him. 10-something li from the village. Dusk falling. A wolf howled from the tree line. Close. Maybe 10 meters. The horse and mule panicked. Second brother jumped off and grabbed the reins to calm the horse, cart grinding to a halt. Through the dim light, I could see a dark shape bouncing around in the trees. Wang Ji, 4th brother, and Hongyan immediately leaped off the cart. Wang Ji turned to me. Want to go check it out? I nodded and reached for the gun. By the time I unwrapped it and stepped off the cart, maybe 15 seconds, I heard Wang Ji's signature sound from inside the forest. Ayo. Oh no. I sprinted in, gun ready, and found Wang Ji sitting on the ground, face covered in blood, a broken stick beside him. 4th brother and Hongyan were standing nearby holding sticks, looking stunned. What happened? Wang Ji wiped blood off his face with one hand. Forget about me. Chase it. The wolf is getting away. It's got something on it. Turns out it wasn't a wolf. It was a wolf. Okay, fine. It was King Peasy, a large wild canine, about 70 or 80 gene. And here's the beautiful absurdity of what happened. Someone had set up a snare in these woods, a bent tree leg trap with iron wire and rope. A young oak tree was bent over and rigged so that when an animal stepped on the trigger, the wire would snag its leg and the tree would snap upright, hoisting the animal into the air. Brilliant in theory. Problem: the tree wasn't thick enough. Couldn't fully lift an 80-gene canine. So the beast was hanging by its hind legs with its front paws still touching the ground. Imagine an extremely angry handstand. Wang Ji, fourth brother, and Hongen found this and thought, free meat. They each grabbed sticks and charged. What followed was apparently a Benny Hill sketch. 3 guys with sticks chasing a half-suspended wolf around a tree. The wolf running in circles, getting yanked back by the rope every time it got too far, then running the other direction. Round and round and round. Finally, Wang Ji got a clean swing. Crack. The stick, a rotten branch he'd picked up off the ground, shattered on impact. The wolf barely flinched, but it did jerk hard in the opposite direction, and the rope's anchor point, a branch the width of a rolling pin, snapped clean off. Now the bent tree had nothing holding it. It whipped back to vertical like a catapult. Wang Ji, charging forward at full speed. The tree, springing backward at full speed. They met in the middle. Direct hit. Face. The 2-meter-tall, refrigerator-wide giant was launched backward over a meter, smashing into the ground with a gash on his forehead, a flattened nose, and a swollen lip. The wolf, now free of the broken anchor but still trailing wire and rope, tried to run but got tangled in brush. That's where I found it. Hopping in place, unable to escape. One shot. Headshot. Done. Wang Ji, bleeding profusely, immediately tried to sprint after the dead wolf. I treated his wounds with the hydrogen peroxide and penicillin I'd bought literally hours ago. Thank God for Han Mei. Wrapped his head in gauze and loaded everyone back on the cart. The man had been smacked in the face by a tree. A tree attacked him. If that tree had feelings, it would feel wrongly accused. He genuinely ran into it. 5 sessions at the inn. 1 tree to the face. The universe giveth and the universe absolutely taketh away. We were almost home, could see the village lights, when something black shot out of the trees and slammed into my shoulder. Before I could react, a second, bigger something crashed onto the cart. I looked down. On my lap, a sable. A sable. The legendary purple marten, one of the 3 treasures of northeast China alongside ginseng and deer antler. One skin is worth over 200 yuan. It was torn up, bleeding everywhere, barely alive. On the other side of the cart, a yellow-throated marten, twice the sable's size, teeth bared. This animal is an apex predator. In my previous life, I read that these things attack giant pandas, animals 50 times their weight, and win. They're faster than tigers, more agile than any cat, and absolutely fearless. What happened was clear. The yellow-throated marten had been hunting its smaller cousin. The chase went through the treetops until the sable, exhausted and wounded, fell off a branch and landed on me. The marten followed. Wang Ji grabbed a sack to smash the marten. I stopped him. This animal was too valuable alive. I picked up the sable, shredded some wounds down to bone. I shaved its fur, disinfected everything with hydrogen peroxide, packed penicillin into the wounds, fed it a painkiller, and wrapped it head to tail in gauze. It went from luxury fur animal to tiny white mummy. The marten watched all of this with intense suspicion but didn't attack. It kept looking at the sable mummy, then at the dead wolf carcass on the cart, then back at me. I cut a 2-gene chunk of wolf meat and tossed it at the marten's feet. It flinched backward, nearly fell off the cart, caught itself with terrifying reflexes, then looked at the meat. Looked at me, looked at the meat, and started eating. When it finished, I told it, I'm home now. You should go. I fed you. The sable is mine. Fair trade. It tilted its head. Didn't move. Scooted closer. I slowly, carefully reached out my hand. It tensed but stayed put. I touched its head, stroked from front to back. Twice. It lay down, closed its eyes, purring. Are you kidding me? I just tamed a yellow-throated marten, an animal that fights bears, with 1 piece of meat and 2 head pats? This creature that could disembowel me in 3 seconds is now getting belly rubs on my cart? I held up the sable mummy and told the marten, from now on, you don't hurt this one. We're all partners now. It tilted its head, seemed to think about it, then nodded. Nodded, like it understood. People say these are the most intelligent wild animals in northeast China. I'm starting to believe it. Back home, Dad and Uncle Wu were smoking on the porch. They saw the cart, the dead wolf, and Wang Ji's head wrapped in gauze like an Indian chief, and nearly had heart attacks. What happened? Wolf attack? Did it bite his head? I explained. Everyone calmed down. I settled the sable mummy and the marten in the storage shed, told the marten approximately 17 times not to eat its cousin, and gave it the rest of the wolf meat. Xiaolon came out and saw the marten. Oh my God, it's so cute. Can I pet it? I grabbed her hand. Touch it and you lose that hand. It's not tame yet. One swipe and your fingers are gone. She retracted her hand so fast, she almost slapped herself. Dinner was simple, corn grits and stir-fried pickled vegetables and pork lard. Wang Ji ate 5 or 6 bowls. Understandable. The man had burned more calories today than an Olympic athlete. I gave Xiaolon the hair ribbon. She asked me to tie it for her. Uncle Wu coughed meaningfully. I ignored him and tied it anyway. Beautiful. My Xiaolon looks beautiful. Uncle Wu rolled his eyes. My Xiaolon. Not married yet, kid. I gave both dads a bottle of Wulianya. Uncle Wu protested. Why buy expensive liquor? Save your money for the wedding. Don't worry. I've still got over 700 yuan. Both dads' eyebrows shot up. I explained the day's earnings and announced my plan. Split the money with the team, save the bulk, and build a whole compound in spring. Rooms for everyone, including the brothers' future wives and even Wang Ji. Dad tried to refuse money for the brothers. They're family. You don't pay family. He smacked second brother with his pipe for even suggesting 10 yuan each. I compromised. 5 yuan per brother for pocket money, the rest saved for construction. Then I gave Wang Ji a few yuan in coins. Wang Ji stared at the money in his hand. Tears started rolling down his face. Nobody had ever been good to him. The whole village fed him, sure, but only because they believed he'd die for them someday. Every meal he ate felt like payment on a death contract. He wasn't stupid. He knew exactly why people tolerated him. But I didn't treat him like a sacrifice. I treated him like a person. Fed him, paid him, included him, and now offered to build him a room. He opened his mouth to say something emotional. I smacked the back of his head, right on his tree wound. Shut up. Eat your food. Go home. Sleep. Heal that stupid head. A tree hit you. What kind of human being gets beaten up by a tree? Come back for breakfast tomorrow. Everyone laughed. Wang Ji covered his mouth with both hands, nodded furiously, tears still wet on his cheeks, and stumbled out into the night. Day 4 scoreboard, 740 yuan earned. Wang Ji's virginity, deleted. Wang Ji's face, destroyed by tree. 1 wolf killed. 1 sable rescued. 1 apex predator tamed with a head pat. 2 dads given fancy liquor. 1 girlfriend given a hair ribbon. Also, I gave the same hair ribbon to another girl earlier today, but we don't talk about that. First thing next morning, sprint to the storage shed. Did the marten eat its cousin overnight? Big Yellow was sleeping on a burlap sack, cracked one eye at me like, bro, it's early, and went back to sleep. But no sign of Little Purple anywhere. My heart sank. That ungrateful marten ate the patient. Then I heard a tiny squeaking at my feet. The sable mummy was down on the floor, gnawing on a wolf leg like nothing happened. Half its body was wrapped in bandages, and it was eating with the determination of someone who'd survived a near-death experience and was not wasting their second chance. No broken bones. Good. I named them. The marten, Big Yellow. The sable, Little Purple. Both seemed to accept this. Big Yellow even put his paw on my hand like we were shaking on it. These animals are terrifyingly smart. I brought them water, checked the wolf carcass, still plenty left for their meals, and headed inside to cook breakfast. 2 wolf legs in the pot with wild onions and a generous pour of Dad's homemade liquor for the smell. Wolf meat is basically dog meat's wilder, gamier cousin. Without ginger, onions and booze are your best bet for killing that funk. The brothers woke up. I assigned tasks. 4th brother on fire duty, 2nd and 3rd brother watering the animals with bean cake supplements. The livestock barn was finished while we'd been out hunting these past few days. Nice timing. I was standing in the yard deciding what to do today when Xiaolon appeared at the gate. Hongju and Ji, are you going to the mountain today? I want to come. Also, I'm eating breakfast here because my dad's cooking is terrible. She said that last part without even a hint of guilt. Uncle Wu's cooking was famously, technically edible but spiritually damaging. I sent Hong in to fetch Uncle Wu so he wouldn't cook either. Wang Ji showed up next, head still bandaged from yesterday's tree attack, asking about mountains. I decided on a lighter day. Head to the river near where we'd killed the pigs, set some wire snares in the forest, and go fishing. Xiaolan was worried. But the water's freezing. You can't go in. And I'm a girl. I can't watch you all strip naked to catch fish. Nobody's stripping. Hongyan almost lost his equipment last time. I'm keeping mine. I needed to give you babies. She shoved me. Face. Maximum red. Here's the thing about fishing in 1980s rural China. Nobody does it. If you want fish, you jump in the water and grab some with your hands. Fish are everywhere. The reason people don't eat much fish isn't scarcity. It's the same old problem. And oil. Fish without oil tastes like wet cardboard. And salt is scarce too. So even curing fish is a luxury. But I'm not getting in that water. I'm building fishing rods. I sent Wang Ji to the village office for broken straw hats. I needed the transparent threading. I also needed a broken broom for bamboo strips. Meanwhile, I went to the backyard and selected 7 straight oak branches, thumb-thick, 2 meters long. Trimmed them, peeled the bark off the grip end, tied bamboo extensions on the tips for flexibility. For line, transparent thread from the straw hats. For floats, goose feathers. For hooks, I heated sewing needles over a candle with chopsticks, not bare hands. Learned that lesson in a previous life, and bent them into hook shapes on the edge of the Kong. They were oversized. You'd need a 3 or 4 gene fish to bite one, but beggars can't be choosers. Made 10 hooks total. Dug up 200 or 300 earthworms from the garden. 1 shovel scoop yielded 20 or 30. This era's soil is basically an earthworm apartment complex. For sinkers, screws from the village office. For a landing net, a winter ice fishing scoop from the shed. I packed my adventure bag, matches, flashlight, medical supplies, salt, and the gun. This bag was now permanent equipment. In the mountains, salt means you'll never starve. Medicine means a scratch won't kill you, and the gun means, well, obvious. Loaded everyone onto the cart. We were barely out the gate when Big Yellow launched himself onto the cart from out of nowhere. Then I saw Little Purple, still wrapped in bandages like a tiny mummy, hobbling toward us on 3 good legs. I jumped down and carried him aboard. Almost forgot you too. At the river, I went into the forest first and spent an hour setting 20+ wire snares. Told Big Yellow to stay away from the trap area. Not worried about the wire hurting him, worried about him destroying my snares. Then I headed back to find everyone standing at the riverbank staring at the water like it owed them money. Time for fishing 101. I scattered corn bran in the water as bait, assembled the first rod, oak branch, bamboo extension, straw hat thread, goose feather float, screw sinker, needle hook, threaded a worm, and cast it in. Before I even finished explaining how to watch the float, the goose feather plunged underwater and drifted toward the center. Fish on. I yanked the rod up. Hooked something. The resources in this era are insane. The hook was in the water for maybe 30 seconds. I demonstrated the technique. Keep the rod vertical, let the bamboo flex absorb the fish's power, don't yank or the thread snaps. Wait until the fish tires, then net it at the shore. Net goes under the fish, scoop forward so the head enters first. If you try to net from above or from the tail, the fish's death thrash will snap your line. 2 gene crucian carp. Ridiculous. My hooks were way too big for a fish this small, but the thing swallowed it anyway. These fish haven't seen a hook in their entire genetic history. They'll bite anything. I handed the rod to Xiaolan and checked on the others. 3rd and 4th brother had somehow hooked their own clothes and were trying to untangle themselves. Wang Ji was in a life-or-death struggle between his enormous hands and a tiny worm, trying to thread it onto a hook. His fingers were bleeding from multiple puncture wounds. He'd been stabbing himself instead of the worm. 2nd and Hongyan had at least gotten their hooks in the water, though barely past the shore. Wang Ji officially surrendered to the Wormhook Alliance and announced, I'm not fishing anymore. I'll do the netting. Then Big Yellow came trotting up from the forest and dropped 2 dead pheasants at my feet. 2. Caught them himself. No snares, no traps, just raw marten speed. He looked at me, then looked at the fish in my hand. Message clear as day, trade? I laughed and tossed him the carp. He pinned it with 1 paw and started eating. Business transaction complete. The marten economy is thriving. I was about to grab my own rod when Xiaolan yelped. Hongju and Ji, help. I can't hold it. This fish is so strong. She was bear-hugging the rod against her chest, being slowly dragged toward the water. Something big was on the line. I rushed over from behind, wrapped my arms around her, reached past her sides, and grabbed her hands on the rod. Together we stabilized the situation. Now, here's where things got complicated. Xiaolan had been pressing the rod against her chest. When I reached around her and grabbed her hands, I didn't only grab her hands. There was additional contact. Soft, warm, undeniable additional contact. My mouth, operating completely independent of my brain, said, "Our future children are blessed. These rice bowls are very generous." Xiaolan's face went thermonuclear. "What did you say about rice bowls?" I said. "Our kids will never go hungry. The equipment is ample." We stood there, me holding her from behind, both of us gripping the rod, having a deeply inappropriate conversation about chest size, while the fish in the water was dying. That poor fish had been fighting for its life and was now floating belly up, exhausted, thinking, "Are you two going to flirt all day, or are you going to put me out of my misery?" Xiaolan finally elbowed me. I reluctantly let go and reached for the landing net, but Wang Ji materialized from thin air, net already in hand. "I got it. Don't bother. Thank you for nothing, Wang Ji. Could you have arrived 30 seconds later? I had just let go of the best fishing experience of my life. Can't exactly grab back on now." He scooped the fish in one expert motion. At least he was good at something today, and hauled up a 7 or 8 gene carp. The fish didn't even flop. It was too exhausted from waiting. Xiaolan bounced excitedly. "Look, I caught a huge fish. But why isn't it moving? The fish, if it could talk. Lady, you two spent 10 minutes feeling each other up while I was drowning in air. I used my last energy trying to get your attention. I have nothing left. I accept my fate. Best fishing trip ever." Xiaolan's monster carp opened the floodgates. One by one, the brothers started catching fish too, though catching is generous. Their success rate was abysmal. Every time they got a fish near shore, they'd panic yank and lose it. Thank God the straw hat thread was tough, or I'd have lost all 10 hooks in the first hour. The universal law of fishing applied. Every fish that got away was definitely huge. Absolutely massive. Nothing to do with their technique. The fish was just too powerful. I caught a few myself. Carp, Christian carp, and a couple of catfish over 10 gene each. Catfish stewed with eggplant is a Northeast classic. They say, catfish and eggplant will kill your grandpa. Not because it's poisonous, but because it's so delicious that old men overeat and pass out. Catfish are predators, so they carry more fat than other freshwater fish, which makes them the premium option in an oil-starved society. After about an hour, all 4 water buckets were full. I told Wang Ji to start putting overflow fish into burlap sacks in the river shallows so they'd stay alive. Fall fish are hardy. In summer, they'd be belly up in an hour. I stopped fishing and checked on lunch options. I'd left Big Yellow's 2 pheasants near the cart. Walked over, and my jaw dropped. The 2 pheasants had multiplied into a mountain. 20 or 30 pheasants plus a dozen rabbits, piled up like a farmer's market display. Big Yellow had apparently spent the morning conducting a one-marten genocide on the local wildlife population. The marten himself was nowhere to be seen. I found him back at the cart, sharing a stolen 7-gene carp with Little Purple. Both animals looked at me with expressions that said, "We're eating, go away." Zero gratitude. Maximum entitlement. I grabbed 4 of the fattest pheasants, 4 or 5 gene each, and headed to the river to prepare the greatest outdoor cooking technique known to mankind, beggar's chicken. Rough plucked the big feathers, gutted them, rinsed in the river, left the fine fuzz on. That's the secret. Then I scooped yellow clay from the riverbank, stuffed each chicken's cavity with coarse salt and a few peppercorns, and wrapped each bird in a 3-centimeter shell of mud. For chickens became 4 basketball-sized mud balls. I laid down 2 armloads of dry branches, placed the mud balls on top, piled on a 3rd armload, and lit the whole thing on fire. Walk away. That's it. Nature's oven. While waiting, I crushed coarse salt into powder on a flat river stone using the side of my pig knife. No fine salt exists out here, and you need powder for dipping. 30 minutes later, the branches burned down to coals, perfectly burying the mud balls. 20 more minutes of ember cooking. I poked one with a stick, hollow sound. Dry clay. Done. Everybody come eat. They all looked at their fishing rods like I'd asked them to abandon their children. But stomachs won. It was past 1 o'clock. No food since breakfast. I picked up a mud ball and cracked it with the stick. The clay split open and a wave of fragrance erupted from inside. Every single person visibly swallowed. The aroma was so thick you could practically chew it. As I peeled away the clay, the leftover fuzz came off with it, stuck to the mud, ripped clean off the skin. Underneath, golden, glistening, perfect chicken. The clay had sealed in every drop of moisture and flavor. The salt and peppercorn had infused the meat from the inside out. I tore the first one apart and distributed pieces. Put a chunk in my mouth. Soft, tender, fragrant. Actually fragrant. Not like modern chicken that smells good but tastes like cardboard. These wild birds had fat. Real, honest, free-range fat. The kind of fat that makes your eyes close involuntarily. We ate one, cracked open the next. 4 rounds of fresh from the fire chicken. Every serving piping hot. 7 people, for chickens at 3+ gene each after cleaning. We left nothing. Not a scrap. Wang Ji was burping and swallowing the last chunk simultaneously. Xiaolan was licking her fingers, that little tongue working between each finger. I extended my own hand toward her. "Want to lick mine too?" She blushed, shot me a death glare, and went to wash her hands in the river. Worth it. Everyone went back to fishing. I leaned against a rock in the autumn sunshine, belly full, eyes drooping. Just drifting off when something pawed at me. Big Yellow and Little Purple were at my feet, staring at the chicken bones, chirping indignantly. "You two already ate a whole fish." Big Yellow looked at the bones. Looked at the pheasant pile. Looked at me. The message was unmistakable. I caught those chickens. You ate them without inviting me. Where are your manners? Okay. Next time I'll make you some. Promise. They chirped twice. Formal protest logged. Then reluctantly settled for gnawing chicken bones, shooting me betrayed looks between bites. Like 2 little abandoned wives who just caught their husband dining with another woman. Around 2 o'clock I called it. Time to check snares and head home before dark. In the forest, I collected 9 pheasants and 3 rabbits from the wire traps, then pulled all the snares. No point leaving them. Big Yellow had basically depopulated the area. Between my snares and his murder spree, the final count, not including the 4 chickens, we ate 32 pheasants and 16 rabbits. The fishing haul was even more ridiculous. 2 full burlap sacks plus 4 overflowing buckets. Over 300 gene of fish. The problem? Fish is basically worthless here. I had no idea what to do with this much. We loaded everything onto the cart. Only Xiaolan rode. She was exhausted, holding Little Purple in her lap like a slightly bloody stuffed animal. The rest of us walked alongside. Big Yellow trotted beside me, now comfortable enough with the brothers to not bare his teeth every 5 seconds. Progress. Scoreboard for A, rest day, 300 gene of fish, 48 wild birds and rabbits. For beggars, chickens consumed. 1 girlfriend's fingers almost licked, 2 pet martins formally offended, and 0 mountains climbed. My light days are more productive than most people's best days. This timeline continues to deliver. We'd barely gone a mile when Big Yellow froze mid-stride and started chirping frantically. Then the horse and mule went nuts, stamping, snorting, refusing to move. I knew immediately something big was coming. I pulled the gun from my waist and crouched down, stroking Big Yellow to read his direction. Following his gaze to our right rear. There, emerging from the tree line like a furry tank, was a black bear. A bear. Let me explain something about black bears in northeast China, because most people's bear knowledge comes from nature documentaries narrated by soothing British men. Reality is different. First, they're basically blind. Can't tell male from female at 10 meters. Can't identify species at 100, but their nose can smell your lunch from 2 li away, and their ears pick up footsteps from 200 meters. This one had smelled our beggar's chicken feast and followed the fish stink on our cart like a GPS. Second, that play dead advice. Only a university professor who's never left his office could say that with a straight face. The bear doesn't check if you're dead with its eyes. It checks with its claws, 10-centimeter razors raking across your body. Then it licks you with a tongue covered in 2-centimeter barbs that can strip meat off bone cleaner than a knife. And if it somehow loses interest, it'll step on you. 600 gene of bear on your ribcage, or SIT on you. At that point, you're not playing dead. You are dead. Third, these things are nearly bulletproof. 3 or 5 rounds to the body, and they barely notice. Hit one without killing it, and it doesn't run. It gets angry and charges. You can't outrun it. You can't outswim it. You can't outclimb it. It does everything you do, but better and angrier. This one was about 300 gene, lumbering toward us from under 100 meters. Pre-hibernation season, desperately packing on calories for winter. A cart full of fish was basically a neon sign saying, "All you can eat." I yanked the bayonet stock off my leg and clicked it onto the gun. Today, the Type 80 was going full assault mode. Without stock, 50-meter range. With stock, 100 meters. The bear was already inside my kill zone. I shouldered the gun and aimed. But I waited. At this distance, if I fired and missed the vitals, 2 things could happen. The bear runs into the forest, and I lose it forever, or the bear charges and I have seconds to deal with 300 gene of furious meat missile bearing down on my unarmed family. I needed it closer. Needed a clean headshot. The bear shambled forward, sniffing the air, completely unaware it was walking into a Big Yellow launched himself off the ground like a missile. I watched my 10-gene Martin sprint directly at a 300-gene bear and thought, "Are you serious right now? You weigh less than one of its legs. What is wrong with your species?" But before I could fire a preemptive shot, the bear sensed danger and reared up on its hind legs with a roar. My carefully aimed headshot was now aimed at nothing useful. If I'd fired, I'd have hit it in the knee at best, or somewhere significantly lower at worst. I lowered the gun and re-aimed. Too late. Big Yellow was already there. The Martin leaped impossibly high, and before the bear could react, slashed it across the nose with one razor paw. Blood sprayed. The bear howled and swung a massive paw. Too slow. Big Yellow was already 2 meters away, having twisted midair with physics-defying agility. The bear charged. Big Yellow dodged. The bear swung again. Big Yellow twisted away. It was like watching a house cat fight a washing machine, except the cat weighed 10 gene and the washing machine wanted to sit on it. But Big Yellow was losing. He wasn't fully grown yet. His speed and power weren't at adult levels. Several times the bear nearly caught him. If those paws connected even once, the bear's signature move would follow. Grab the prey, stuff it under its butt, and SIT. 300 gene descending on 10 gene of Martin equals a Martin pancake. Wang Ji, naturally, grabbed the pig knife and tried to charge the bear. Because of course he did. This man's survival instincts are not just broken, they were never installed. Wang Ji, stop. Stay with the cart. I couldn't let this play out. I kept the gun shouldered and started creeping closer, step by careful step, maintaining firing position the whole way. At 30 meters, the situation was getting desperate. Big Yellow was visibly tiring, his dodges getting narrower. One swipe missed him by centimeters. Another grazed his tail. The bear was learning his patterns. I had a choice. Wait for the perfect shot and risk Big Yellow getting squashed, or shoot now and risk the bear charging us. I chose Big Yellow. Let me describe this fight from the bear's perspective, because honestly, it deserved a narrator. This bear had been having a perfectly normal day. Smelled some delicious chicken. Followed the scent to a cart full of fish. Easy meal. Life was good. Then a 10-gene rodent appeared and slapped him in the face. The bear's nose was now bleeding. Okay. Annoying. He swung his paw. The little bastard was already gone. Fine. He'd catch it. How hard could it be? Very hard, as it turned out. Big Yellow didn't fight fair. He didn't fight with honor. He fought like a Martin, which meant targeting exclusively the nose, the eyes, and the downstairs department. Within 2 minutes, the bear's left eye was clawed shut and bleeding. His nose looked like raw hamburger, and his most sensitive anatomy had been attacked from behind with surgical precision. The 300-gene apex predator was now standing in a half squat, hind legs clamped together so tight they were shaking, his tiny useless tail pressed desperately over his rear in like the world's worst shield. He couldn't sit down, his backside hurt too much. He couldn't stand up straight, that exposed the goods. He couldn't drop to all fours, that was an open invitation for Big Yellow to finish the job. He was trapped in an eternal half squat of agony, defending his remaining reproductive potential against a creature that weighed less than his head. The bear was genuinely questioning his life choices. This tiny demon wouldn't touch his thick hide or his armored shoulders, only the soft bits. Eyes, nose, and nuts. Over and over. I watched this unfold from 30 meters, and I'm not proud of this. I was thoroughly entertained. But Big Yellow was getting tired. He wasn't fully grown, and the bear was learning. A couple of swipes came dangerously close. One connect, and the bear would grab him, stuff him under its butt, and sit. Game over. Wang Ji, obviously, grabbed the pig knife and tried to charge a 300-gene bear. I caught him just in time. Stay? With the cart, I crept closer, gun-shouldered. At 30 meters, the bear was half-squatting, one eye gone, shaking, but still dangerous. Big Yellow glanced at me with an expression that clearly said, I've been doing all the work. Are you going to use that thing, or just watch? Message received. Bang. One shot. From the remaining good eye straight through the back of the skull. The bear dropped instantly. Its final thought was probably, you had that weapon the whole time? You could have used it 5 minutes ago instead of letting that psychopath Martin destroy my manhood. The bear lay dead on the ground. Its hind legs were still twitching, still squeezing together. Even in death, the muscle memory of protecting its crotch persisted. That trauma went all the way to the soul. I went to Big Yellow first. Checked him over, not a scratch. Gave him a good petting. Animals need to feel valued. You reward the work, or they stop working. Simple as that. I cut out the bear's heart and handed it to Big Yellow. He grabbed it and started eating with the satisfied air of a warrior collecting his trophy. Little Purple was nearby, chirping jealously. I tossed him a piece of bear liver, but didn't pet him. That was deliberate, establishing the hierarchy. Work gets you first dibs and head scratches. No work gets you leftovers and no affection. Even mummies need to understand the economy. Now the real prize. Bear gallbladder. This thing is worth a fortune, but you have to extract it immediately. Wait too long, and the body reabsorbs the bile, shrinking the gallbladder into a worthless raisin. There's a grading system. Grass gall, greenish-black, small, worth 300 to 500 yuan. Copper gall, dark yellow, fist-sized, 800 to 1,000. Gold gall, brilliant gold, bigger than a small ball, worth 2,000 to 5,000 yuan. This bear had died in a state of absolute maximum fury. One eye clawed shut, the other shot out, his reproductive organs brutalized by a marten. He was as angry as a bear can possibly get. And anger makes the gallbladder swell. I slit the belly, pulled the organs, and held up the gallbladder. Golden. Enormous. Bigger than a small ball by 2 full sizes. Gold gall. Close to 4,000 yuan. I tied it off to prevent leakage and handed it to second brother. Wash this carefully. Don't break it. It's worth almost 4,000. His hand started shaking so bad I thought he'd drop it. Bro, take it back. If I break this, you could sell me and I wouldn't cover the cost. If you can't wash a gallbladder, why are you following me into the mountains? Learn. Next time, you do the extraction yourself. I stripped the bear. Skin, paws, fat, especially the fat. Bear oil is liquid gold in this era. Doesn't solidify like pork lard. Makes flatbread so fragrant you'd cry. The intestinal fat alone was worth the trip. We loaded everything onto the cart. The mule panicked at the bear's smell. Even dead, a bear's scent triggers prey animal terror. Second brother had to walk alongside, stroking the mule's neck the whole way. They need to get used to this. Can't have your transport animals losing their minds every time you bring home a predator. On the road back, I gave the team a serious talk. From now on, nobody tells outsiders where we hunt, what we catch, or how much we earn. Not the villagers, not friends, not anyone. As we make more money, people will get jealous. They'll want to join us. We can't bring them. Some people aren't built for the mountains, but they'll resent being excluded. They'll make trouble. If anyone asks, you don't know anything. I look directly at Wang Ji. Especially you. I know you're not actually stupid. You just never had anyone teach you things. But you're honest to a fault, and honest men get exploited. Keep your mouth shut about our business. Then the big picture speech. None of you are ever to leave this team and take outsiders into the mountains on your own. If you do, that means you think you don't need me anymore. That's fine, but you can't come back. And if people copy our methods and get hurt, they'll blame us. Wang Ji's eyes went red. Hong Jun, don't talk like that. You're the only person who's ever been good to me for real. I'd rather die than betray you. You think I survived 30 years as the village idiot without learning who's genuine and who's using me? The man had a point. Being the village fool for 3 decades was its own kind of education. I softened up and promised everyone, stick with me, and we'll all have houses, wives, and full bellies. Not just surviving, thriving. Wang Ji included. We rolled into the village after dark. Again, the whole place lost its collective mind. A cart full of fish and a bear. In a season when fish are supposedly impossible to catch because the water freezes your equipment off? Some clever villager immediately asked, selling the fish? Translation, last time you gave away free pork. Maybe if I ask about buying, you'll give away free fish too. I saw right through it. There's a saying, give someone a bowl of rice and they're grateful. Give them a bucket every day and they expect it. Stop giving and suddenly you're the villain. I wasn't falling into that trap twice. Today's haul, 1 bear, gold gallbladder alone worth 4,000 yuan, 300 gene of fish, 48 birds and rabbits, bear skin, bear paws, bear fat, and a life lesson about keeping your mouth shut. Running total since arriving in the 1980s. I've lost count, but I'm pretty sure I've out-earned every single person in this village's entire lifetime. In less than a week, the village idiot has been to a brothel, the Martin has defeated a bear through groin attacks, and I'm about to be the richest man in the county. This is the greatest second life anyone has ever lived. Back at the village, the vultures circled immediately. Selling the fish? Translation, please give me free stuff again. This time, no. 1 yuan per fish, about 10 gene each, at 1 mao per gene. That's practically giving it away, but the magic word, money, scattered the crowd like I'd announced a plague. Amazing how fast people disappear when free becomes 1 yuan. Only a few stayed. Women with newborns or nursing babies who genuinely needed cushion carp for milk production. Traditional medicine actually works. I gave each of them 3 or 4 fat carp and told Xiaolan to charge 1 yuan per family. Some couldn't even scrape together a full yuan. I took whatever they had. The difference between free and cheap is everything. Free meat last time, people grabbed it and said some nice words. Maybe meant them, maybe not. 1 yuan fish today? Every single person was embarrassed, grateful, insisted it was too generous. Same fish, same people. But when you pay even a tiny amount, you feel the kindness. When it's free, you feel entitled. I also had Wang Ji and the brothers deliver free fish to the elderly, the widows, and families with too many kids to feed. But the young, healthy people sitting at home being lazy? My fish would rather feed dogs. At home, the 2 dads were, surprise, sitting on the porch smoking instead of cooking. The chimney was cold. These 2 grown men had zero intention of making dinner for anyone. They were simply going to sit there until food appeared. Which, to be fair, it always does when I'm around. I made catfish stewed with eggplant. Northeast classic. Scalded the catfish in 70-degree water first. Strips the mucous membrane right off. Eliminates that muddy taste completely. Mixed soybean oil with rendered lard for maximum flavor. Fried wild onions and soybean paste until the whole house smelled like heaven. Then in went 20-something gene of catfish with hand-torn eggplant and chili peppers. Corn cake around the rim. Done. Everyone ate like they'd been starving for years. The eggplant had absorbed all the fish and paste broth until it was basically a flavor sponge, soft, rich, and ridiculous. Even the brothers who hadn't learned to shut up while eating were dead silent, shoveling food with mechanical intensity. After dinner, cigarettes lit, I dropped the bomb. Dad, that empty land behind our house. Has anyone claimed it? No. Why? I want to build houses there. Houses. That's over 2 shang of land. You think you own this village? Not just for me. For all 6 of us. Me, the 4 brothers, and Wang Ji. 7 plots total if you count you and Uncle Wu as 1 unit. About 200 square meters each. House plus yard. It's the back of the village, nobody's using it, and we won't bother anyone. Dad and Uncle Wu exchanged looks. One's the village chief, one's the party secretary. If they can't approve land, nobody can. Uncle Wu nodded slowly. Could work. But when are you building? And with what money? I laid it out. 7 houses at 200 square meters each. Roughly 60,000 bricks at 2 fin apiece. 12 to 13,000 yuan. Plus labor, cement, steel, another 10-something thousand. Total, about 30,000 yuan. The room went silent. 30,000 yuan. In an era where being a 10,000 yuan household makes you legendary. I was casually proposing to spend 3 of those. I have about 1,000 right now. Today's haul plus the bear gallbladder is worth around 5,000. The walls need to go up before deep winter. I need you two to hire workers. 1 yuan per day, no meals included. No favors, no debts. Cash payment. Dad stared at me. Uncle Wu stared at me. The brothers stared at me. Wang Ji stared at the ceiling because he was still processing. Where's the rest of the money coming from? Dad asked. I'll handle it. Just find me workers and building materials. They trusted me enough not to press further. Uncle Wu just warned everyone. Keep your mouth shut about the money. We don't know how Hongjun plans to get it. As long as it's legal, it's his business. Even if your father and I embezzled the entire village treasury, we couldn't scrape together this much. That night, apparently nobody slept except me. Even Wang Ji had dark circles the next morning. The dream I described, real houses, real yards, real futures, was too exciting to let anyone's brain shut down. Next morning, loaded the cart. Fish, game, bear meat, bear skin, bear paws, and the golden gallbladder. Headed for the county, but fate had other plans. Right at the edge of town, I ran into Old Sun Never Loses. Couldn't just blow past him. He saw the loaded cart, and his merchant brain activated instantly. He knew if he didn't offer premium prices, this cart was going straight to the county. Fish, 20 fun per jean for 300 jean, 60 yuan. Fair. Pheasants and rabbits, 5 yuan each, 38 total, 190 yuan. Bear paws, 800 yuan. Bear meat, 1 yuan per jean, 170 jean, 170 yuan. Bear skin, 300 yuan. Then the main event, the gallbladder. He opened at 4,000. I shook my head and played my cards. Brother son, I was headed to the county specifically for this. The restaurant owner there commissioned me to find a gold gallbladder. He offered 6,000. I could probably get 7, half true, half bluff. I had no idea if Restaurantly wanted a bear gallbladder. But Old Sun didn't know that. He smoked 2 cigarettes in agonized silence. Forgot to even offer me one. That's how stressed he was. Finally, 7,000. I'll take it, 7,000 yuan. For 1 gallbladder. Total sale, 8,500 yuan. He counted out 9 stacks of 10 yuan bills, 1,000 per stack, peeled off 50 from one, and handed me the rest. I counted twice, stuffed it in a burlap sack on the cart. 8,500 yuan in one transaction. The man pulled it out like it was pocket change. Old Sun Never Loses was apparently sitting on serious money. Then I asked about something I'd been thinking about. Brother son, I saw a wild ginseng in the mountains. 6-leaf, he grabbed my arm. 6-leaf? You have it, not yet. Saw it, marked it, didn't have tools to dig. What's it worth? His eyes were on fire. Market price, 30,000. But I have a client in Harbin who needs a 6-leaf as a business gift. He's offering 50,000. I could push him to 60. You bring me that ginseng intact. I'll give you 60,000 yuan. 60,000 yuan. I kept my face neutral, but my brain was doing backflips. I'd estimated maybe 20,000, enough for the houses. 60,000 was enough to build a mansion. Multiple mansions. This was why I'd told Dad, money isn't a problem. I'd spotted that ginseng while setting snares. 6-leaf wild ginseng, the kind that takes decades to grow. I just needed proper tools to dig it without damage. Finally, I asked about guns. Can you get me 5 Type 56 semi-automatic rifles? 1,000 each. I'll throw in 2,000 rounds. Make it 20,000 rounds. My brothers have never touched a gun. Training eats ammo. He waved his hand. 20,000 rounds is nothing. Enough for Li Yunlong to siege Ping'an County. 5 rifles. 20,000 rounds. 5,000 yuan. I left Old Sons with 8,500 yuan in a sack. A deal for 60,000 yuan ginseng. And an order for 5 rifles with enough ammunition to start a small war. Running total, approximately meaningless because in 2 days I'm going to dig up a plant worth more than everything I've earned combined. This isn't a comeback story anymore. This is an empire. Morning supply run at the town co-op. 200 jean of rice. This crew eats 10 jean per meal. 200 jean of flour. 20 jean of bulk liquor because Dad and Uncle Wu were rationing their fancy bottles like it was holy water, pouring 1 liang each and savoring it like they were tasting God's tears. Just buy the cheap stuff by the bucket, old men. Drink freely. A bolt of dark blue work fabric. Everyone needed new clothes. Days in the forest had shredded our outfits beyond repair. A few meters of flower print fabric for Xiaolon. Then I remembered Wang Jia. I'd never seen her in new clothes. Grabbed extra for her too. 10 bottles of soda. 100 yuan gone. Money feels different when you've got 8,000 more in a burlap sack. Heading home. Relaxed. No rush. Beautiful day. Time. Barely 9 a.m. We'd planned to go to the county, but finished business at the town. Rest day. 2 li from the village. The cart stopped. Everyone looked up. Pig. Not just any pig. A pig king. 1,000 gene solitary boar standing in the middle of the road, staring us down like a final boss in a video game. Tusks gleaming. Body armored in layers of mud, resin, and bristles so thick that bullets would bounce off like ping-pong balls. This thing was the size of a full-grown cow. The horse and mule panicked. Big Yellow puffed up his fur and chittered, but did not charge. Even the fearless Martin looked at this thing and thought, nope, not today. I respect my own mortality. This was a lone bull, a pig that's too massive and too dangerous to bother with a herd. They wander the mountains alone, only visiting pig groups during mating season to beat up the resident boar, impregnate everything, and disappear. Even tigers avoid these things. And this one was a gun survivor. It had been shot before and lived. Most animals that survive gunfire become terrified of humans. This one went the other direction. It hated humans. It had followed our scent deliberately. It wanted to fight. I pulled the gun, attached the stock. 100 meters. It was watching me. The moment I raised the weapon, it started pawing the ground. Big Yellow tensed to charge. I stopped him. This wasn't his fight. But I forgot about Wang Ji. This maniac grabbed his pig-slaughtering knife and started walking toward 1,000 gene armored war pig. Not running. Walking. Along the road's edge. Casually. Like he was going to buy groceries. Except the grocery store was a prehistoric death machine. The pig charged. Wang Ji charged. 100 meters, closing from both ends. I fired twice. Bang bang. Both hit the eyes, one at 80 meters, one at 60. The second shot tore off half the pig's face. But this is a handgun against 1,000 gene tank. If I'd had a rifle, one shot would have exploded the skull. The pistol just made it angry and blind on one side. The pig stumbled sideways, directly into Wang Ji's path. Wang Ji jumped. His plan, apparently, was to leap over the charging boar like an action movie hero. He overestimated his vertical by about 2 feet and underestimated the pig's height by about the same. He landed on the pig, backwards, straddling it like a horse, facing the tail end. Ancient legend tells of Zhang Guolao riding his donkey backwards. Today, Wang Shatzi rode 1,000 gene war pig backwards into the forest at full gallop. They disappeared into the trees in seconds. Pig screaming. Wang Ji. Silent. Possibly dead. Big Yellow and I sprinted after them, following a blood trail. 2 li into the forest, we found Wang Ji slumped against a tree, alive but dazed, face swollen like a balloon. The pig was 200 meters further, collapsed, half its head missing, gasping its last breaths. I put a mercy bullet through the remaining half of its skull. Dead. Then I got the full story of what happened during the ride. When Wang Ji landed on the pig backwards, survival instinct kicked in, and he bear-hugged the pig's body, arms and legs wrapped tight. The pig, now carrying a 2-meter-tall human passenger on its back and missing half its face, completely lost its mind. It went from running to leaping, both hind legs launching simultaneously, like a bucking bronco. Each leap bounced Wang Ji further and further toward the pig's rear end, until his face was level with the pig's tail and the pig's equipment. The tail started whipping him across the face. Left, right, right. But that wasn't the worst part. The pig's testicles, and on 1,000 gene boar, these are not small, were swinging with each leap. Forward swing, slapped the pig's own belly. Backward swing, slapped Wang Ji's face. Full contact. His entire 42-centimeter wide face, covered by pig balls with every backward swing. According to Wang Ji, really, really painful, tail whip. Ball slap. Tail whip. Ball slap. For 2 entirely. After about 10 or 12 direct ball-to-face impacts, he started seeing stars. After a few more, he blacked out completely. But he never opened his mouth. I was afraid they'd knock my teeth out. He eventually fell off unconscious. The pig, now relieved of both its passenger and the pain of its own testicles slamming into a human skull repeatedly, ran another 200 meters and collapsed. When I shot the pig, I'd noticed its testicles looked unusually large. Now I understood why. They were swollen from hitting Wang Ji's face. The pig had literally beaten itself into testicular trauma, using Wang Ji as the impact surface. Both parties suffered. This was a lose-lose of historic proportions. Back at the road, Wang Ji suddenly sat up on the cart, grabbed his knife, and aimed at the dead pig's groin. I stopped him. "What are you doing?" "I want to cut off the balls and eat them. They're disgusting." "Why?" "Because while they were hitting my face and I was about to pass out, I swore to myself, I will bite these things off. I couldn't open my mouth at the time. But now I have a knife. I need to eat them, Hongjun. I need closure. I'll even skip 2 trips to the county inn to pay for them if they're valuable." This man was willing to sacrifice future brothel visits to consume pig testicles out of revenge. The psychological damage was profound and permanent. We hauled the 1,000-gene carcass out of the forest. 5 men and 1 mule. 2 hours of dragging. Went straight to Old Son's instead of home. He was shocked to see us back so fast with a legendary pig king. He gave me 1,000 yuan for the whole thing. Fair enough. The meat tastes terrible, but city people will pay for the novelty. Then the real surprise. Old Son led me to his storage room. 5 brand new Type 56 semi-automatic rifles, still wrapped in oil paper. For boxes of ammo, 20,000 rounds total. Beautiful. I handed over 4 stacks of cash, plus the pig money. 5,000 yuan even. As a bonus, he gifted me a turtle shell, a compact pistol, old model, fewer than 100 rounds remaining. "For your big friend," he said, nodding at Wang Ji. "He shouldn't have a rifle, but he needs something for self-defense. These bullets are irreplaceable, though. Make him count every shot." Smart man, Old Sunday. 2 visits and he'd read every dynamic in my team perfectly. Back at the supply store before closing, Sichuan peppercorns, chili pepper, soy sauce, and miracle of miracles, dark soy sauce. 2 bottles. This stuff barely exists in Northeast China in this era. Instant purchase. Also 100 meat buns. Because it was 3 p.m., everyone was dying of hunger, and I was not cooking tonight. Each brother ate 2 buns on the road. The remaining 90-something were dinner. Wang Ji rode home clutching a 10-gene bundle of pig reproductive organs in one hand and his knife in the other. He was going to cook those balls tonight, and he was going to enjoy it. Some men collect trophies from their victories. Wang Ji collects trophies from his traumas. Day's earnings. 8,500 from the morning sale, 1,000 from the Pig King, equals 9,500. Minus 5,000 for rifles and ammo. Net, for 1,500 yuan richer, plus 5 military rifles and 20,000 rounds. Tomorrow, dig up a ginseng worth 60,000 yuan. This life is insane, and I would not trade it for anything. Got home after dark. Little Purple greeted us at the gate, hobbling but alive, clearly bored out of his mind after a day alone. Big Yellow rushed over for a cousin reunion. Heartwarming. For Martins. Xiaolon had made corn grits and fried pickled vegetables. I handed her the 100 buns and told her to steam them. Dinner was simple tonight, too tired to cook properly. Unloaded everything into the storage shed. Rice and flour went in with Big Yellow and Little Purple standing guard. What mouse would dare enter a room guarded by 2 apex predators? Even weasels, legendary chicken thieves, were on their menu. The 2 dads returned from supervising construction and immediately started complaining. "You make us do all the work and hire people, but you forgot to give us money to pay them, right?" Oops. I pulled 5 stacks of cash from the burlap sack, 5,000 yuan, and held them out. "Here, start with this." Dad waved it away. "Give it to your father-in-law. I'm not touching money management. I'm a rough man. I supervise labor. If I lose even a little, I can't afford the responsibility." Uncle Wu also refused. "Too much. If I lost even the spare change, I couldn't pay it back. We're out running around all day. Can't keep it at home. Can't carry it around. Give it to Xiaolon." Xiaolon appeared and saw the cash. Her eyes went full cartoon sparkle. "Wow, so much money. Can we celebrate New Year every day now?" I patted her head and handed it over. "You're the family treasurer now. I'll teach you bookkeeping. Everything on paper, not just piles of cash. After the houses are built, income splits. 5 shares for me, 1 each for the brothers and Wang Ji. For now, just track what comes in and what goes out." She nodded so fast her head looked like a sewing machine. "I'll learn. Even if I have to skip eating, sleeping, and bathroom breaks, I'll count every penny." Everyone laughed. Dad kicked me lightly. "Stop bragging about money. Stop complaining about corn grits. You've had 3 days of decent food, and suddenly you're too good for flatbread? Hide your wealth. Eat your meat at the bottom of the bowl. The moment everyone knows you're rich, they'll trip you from behind. I grinned. Dad, when I'm only a little richer than them, they'll be jealous. When I'm so far ahead they can't even see me, jealousy turns to admiration. I'm aiming for the second one. His foot came up again. I dodged. Wait, I bought you 20 gin of liquor. Bulk. Drink as much as you want. He took the jug, called Uncle Wu, and they disappeared inside. By the time we entered, they were already drinking. Half a gin each, no food yet, just pickled vegetables and grins. I squeezed in before they got drunk and dropped the real bomb. Dad, Uncle Wu, do either of you know anyone who can dig wild ginseng? I found a 6-leaf. Both men set down their cups. How many leaves? I held up 6 fingers. 6? I held up 6 fingers again. 60,000 yuan. Buyer already lined up. 60,000? For real? Both of them hit the same high note simultaneously, like a geriatric boy band. I'd never heard Uncle Wu curse before, but he broke his lifetime streak, like father like son. The frog has no hair because it takes after its parent. Turns out, and nobody had ever told me this, my dad was a legendary ginseng hunter in his youth. A mountain boss, the best in the region. Never damaged a single root. He'd actually found a 6-leaf himself years ago, sold it, and used the money to retire from mountain life and raise 5 sons. Then my mother got sick. They went all the way to the provincial capital for treatment. Spent every yuan. She died anyway. After that, Dad lost all motivation, became the village chief, and just survived. Uncle Wu's crude comment suddenly made sense. Takes after its parent, because Dad had also found a 6-leaf ginseng. Like father, like son. And the best part, Dad still had all his ginseng digging tools. Real ginseng hunters treat their equipment like sacred artifacts. They never sell them, never throw them away. Either pass them to an apprentice or take them to the grave. Dad slammed his cup down. Let's go? Now, Dad. It's pitch black outside. Uncle Wu grabbed him. Sit down, you lunatic. You can't find ginseng in the dark. Dad sat. But neither of them could drink anymore. They poured their liquor back into the jug, started eating rice instead. Couldn't taste it. Kept picking up their cups, staring at them, putting them down, looking at each other, picking up the cups again, putting them down. Finally, Dad announced, everyone sleep. Now, we leave at first light. It was 6:30 p.m. We'd just finished eating. Dad, it's 6:30. I have an errand too. Then go. Do it fast. Come back. Sleep. The 4 brothers stared at each other in the dark bedroom at 7 p.m., wide awake, forbidden from doing anything except lying still. A 6-leaf ginseng had turned our father into a drill sergeant. I grabbed the fabric I'd bought, a bottle of soda, and headed to Wang Jie's house. She needed to start sewing everyone's new clothes, and tomorrow I'd be gone at dawn. Her house was dark. Normal. Electricity costs money, and in this era you don't turn lights on unless you're performing surgery. I knocked. Called out. No answer. Worried something was wrong, I opened the door. The light clicked on. Wang Jie was on the Kong, clearly just woken from a nap, a small blanket sliding off her legs. She blinked at me. Hongjun? What time is it? I fell asleep after dinner. She was wearing a cotton tank top. Or rather, what used to be a cotton tank top several years ago. Time and where had created ventilation holes. Strategic ventilation holes. In an era where bras don't exist in rural China, a deteriorated tank top provides roughly the same coverage as a fishing net. I stared. I am not proud of this, but I am honest. Wang Jie followed my gaze, looked down at herself, and yelped. Grabbed the blanket to her chest. I went red from neck to hairline. Business. Focus on business. I explained the clothing situation. I'd bought fabric, needed her to sew outfits for everyone. Would pay 5 yuan per set like the town tailor charges. She refused payment. You saved my life. I'm not charging you for sewing. And agreed to start tomorrow. I set the fabric on the Kong. Then pulled out 2 pieces of flower print fabric. These are for you and Xiaolon. 1 outfit each. She stared at the fabric. Then at the bottle of soda I'd brought her. Then the tears came. Nobody had been kind to her in years. Married into the village. Bullied by in-laws. Blamed for not getting pregnant fast enough. Husband died in the mountains. Parents-in-law died of grief. Birth family never even called. Alone. Invisible. The only person in the whole village who remembered she existed was an 18-year-old boy who'd saved her from drowning 3 days ago. I scooted closer to comfort her. I have zero experience with crying women. 2 lifetimes, and nobody taught me this skill. I awkwardly patted her back. That was my mistake. Or my destiny. Take your pick. She threw her arms around me and sobbed into my chest. What do? Push away a heartbroken woman? Hold her and pretend you don't notice that her tank top has more holes than Swiss cheese? My hands settled on her back, purely for comfort purposes, obviously. She pulled back, tear-streaked, looked up at me with those wet eyes, and whispered, "Am I pretty?" I swallowed hard. Nodded. Thunder met lightning. Sky met earth. And Lu Hongjuan's complicated love life officially entered its next chapter. Uncle Wu did say I could have as many wives as I wanted, right? Pretty sure that counts as written permission. I got home past 8. Everyone was asleep, or pretending to be. I crawled into my spot on the Kong, and despite everything racing through my mind, passed out instantly. Apparently crossing dimensional boundaries, and physical exertion, takes it out of you. Felt like I'd slept 5 minutes when Hongen started shaking me. Bro, wake up. I looked outside. Pitch black. Looked at the clock. 5 a.m. Are you insane? The sun doesn't rise for another 2 hours. Dad woke everyone up ages ago. Second brother already made breakfast. Uncle Wu and Xiaolon are here. Wang Jiyi's here. Everyone's waiting on you. I dragged myself up, grumbling about how you can't even see ginseng in the dark. Then Xiaolon walked in. She had dark circles under her eyes. Strange. She started folding blankets and said, very casually, "Hongjuanji, you must have been tired last night. I told your dad not to wake you so early, but breakfast is ready and everyone's waiting." Something about her tone made my blood freeze. She leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Next time, turn the light off. Or at least close the curtains. I'll also tell Wang Jie to keep her voice down." My brain made the windows shut down sound. She knew. Not just knew, she'd apparently witnessed. Wang Jie's house is right behind Xiaolan's. The window. The light. Oh God. I opened my mouth to explain. She smiled at me sweetly, turned around, and went to set the table. Breakfast was the most stressful meal of my life. Everyone seemed normal except I was convinced every smile was a knowing smirk. Xiaolon kept making eye contact and grinning. I ate 2 bowls of rice, tasting absolutely nothing. The ginseng expedition launched in full darkness. Everyone came. Dad, Uncle Wu, Wang Ji, all 4 brothers, Big Yellow, Little Purple, both animals. The only one left behind was Xiaolon. Dad was a man possessed. He'd barely slept. The 6-leaf ginseng had activated something primal in him. The old mountain boss was back. We reached the site at dawn. The ginseng was exactly where I'd marked it, in the scrub between the oak and pine forests on the mountain's rib. Dad took command. When you see the ginseng, you shout, "Bon Shui." That's the mountain call. Then someone asks, "How many leaves?" And you answer, "Get the count wrong." And that's called blowing up the mountain. We go home. Don't talk unless you know what to say. If you don't know, shut up. I found my marker, parted the brush with the stick Dad gave me, and there it was, 6 perfect leaf clusters, red berries already fallen. Bon Shui. Dad's voice cracked with emotion. How many leaves? I double-checked. Triple-checked. 6 leaves. Dad rushed forward, tied a red string around the stem. The locking ritual, then bowed 3 times toward the mountain. He unrolled a deerskin pouch of tools I'd never seen before. Tiny picks, specialized scrapers, miniature shovels, delicate brushes. A surgeon's toolkit for plants. What I expected, maybe an hour of careful digging. What actually happened? 5 hours. Dad worked in absolute silence, moving dirt particle by particle. Every root hair matters. 1 snap, 1 tear, 1 careless scrape, and the ginseng's value drops from 60,000 to 6,000. Uncle Wu assisted, handing tools and narrating every movement for our education. Dad didn't even drink water properly, just wet his lips. Couldn't risk a bathroom break mid-extraction. When the ginseng finally came free, Dad collapsed on the ground, drenched in sweat. Getting old. Last time I did a 6-leaf, took 4 hours. Now I need 5, and I'm destroyed. Uncle Wu wrapped the ginseng in birch bark lined with moss, the traditional preservation method, and we hustled back to the cart. Big Yellow had caught 4 or 5 pheasants and 2 rabbits while waiting. Good boy, but the pickings were slim, He'd already depopulated this area on previous trips. Back home, I sent the whole crew to Old Sons with the ginseng while I stayed behind to cook. The real reason I stayed? I was terrified that Xiao Lan and Wang Jie were currently in a fist fight. I raced to Wang Jie's house, heart pounding, expecting screaming, hair pulling, maybe bloodshed. Instead, I found them sitting together on the Kong, laughing, sewing clothes side by side like best friends at a sleepover. Xiao Lan grabbed my arm the second I walked in. Hongju and Ji, you're back. Is it true what Wang Jie says? Once you taste it, you can't stay away? Is that why you came straight here? Wang Jie turned crimson. I turned crimson. I spotted a basin on the Kong and desperately tried to change the subject. Hey, is that our basin? Xiao Lan. Yes, it's our basin. I brought Wang Jie breakfast this morning because after what you did to her last night, she definitely couldn't cook for herself. I wanted the earth to swallow me. Wang Jie spoke up gently. Xiao Lan, let go of your Hongju and Ji. I already told you, I'm not competing with you. I'm a widow. I couldn't win even if I tried. I still had an unanswered question from last night. Carefully, Wang Jie, about last night. You were married before, so how were you still? Xiao Lan cackled. You want to know why Wang Jie was still a virgin? I know the answer, but I'm not telling you. You got a bargain. Just be grateful. Then she turned to Wang Jie. And stop calling him my Hongju and Ji. I haven't even experienced anything yet, and you got to go first. But as long as Hongju and Ji marries me, I don't care how many women he has. My dad already told me, a capable man will always attract women. I retreated to the kitchen. Cooking was safer than this conversation. Made 3 dishes. First, rendered the bare fat into oil, liquid gold, doesn't solidify, makes everything taste incredible. The leftover cracklings with chili powder were addictive beyond description. Second, Sichuan-style dry-fried rabbit. High heat, bare oil plus soybean oil, rabbit chunks flash-fried until the outside was crispy and the inside stayed juicy. Massive amounts of dried chili and Sichuan peppercorn, the only way rabbit meat works. The kitchen filled with spicy smoke so thick that Xiao Lan ran in coughing, and I had to stuff a piece in her mouth to shut her up. She grabbed 2 more pieces and sprinted outside to feed one to Wang Jie. Third, deep-fried chicken pieces, marinated in salt, green onion, and liquor for 30 minutes, dusted with flour, fried in mixed oil until golden and crunchy. 3 full batches. The crew returned just as everything was ready. Old Son had been caught off guard, didn't have 60,000 in cash on hand. Had to take everyone to the post office to withdraw it. But the ginseng was perfect, not a scratch, and the deal went through without a hitch. 60,000 yuan. Cash. In our hands. At dinner, the 2 dads ceremonially handed all 60,000 directly to Xiao Lan. Not to me. To her. In front of Wang Jie. Message received. Xiao Lan is the queen. The treasury belongs to the queen. Any other women in this arrangement answer to the queen. The 2 old men had read the situation in approximately 5 seconds and established the hierarchy before I could even think about it. Smart, ruthless, effective. Xiao Lan held 60,000 yuan in her hands and looked like she'd been crowned empress. After dinner, everyone went home. I walked Wang Jie back. Barely sat down before Xiao Lan appeared at the door. I told my dad I'm sleeping at Wang Jie's tonight. He agreed to that. Of course, the old fox. Uncle Wu had not only accepted the situation, he was accelerating it. His daughter wasn't even married yet, and he was sending her for sleepovers at the other woman's house. The 3 of us chatted for a bit. I stood to leave. Xiao Lan grabbed my sleeve. Hongju and Ji, why don't you sleep here too tonight? It's fine. My dad approved. I looked at her, looked at Wang Jie, patted Xiao Lan's head, and walked home. Some offers require strategic delay. Also, I was genuinely exhausted. Also, I still had zero explanation for how a previously married woman was somehow not previously experienced. 2 mysteries remained unsolved. The virgin widow paradox, and how exactly Xiao Lan discovered everything through a window. Tomorrow I'd interrogate someone, not Xiao Lan. That girl was sharper than my pig knife. Wang Jie would crack easier. Day's haul, 60,000 yuan from 1 plant. Running total, enough to build a compound, arm a militia, and apparently start a harem. Life goal updated. Survive long enough to enjoy all of this. The next days blurred into a productive frenzy. Dad and Uncle Wu went full construction foreman, buying bricks, hiring workers, digging foundations, building walls. I connected our family's garden with Uncle Wu's yard and paid villagers to build a winter greenhouse. Not a modern greenhouse, more like a medieval heating system. A 200-meter-long brick wall on the north side, 2 meters high, with side walls angling down to ground level in front. Pine poles from the back wall to short stakes in front, covered with plastic sheeting facing south. A wood stove on the east end fed into a fire wall running the entire length, with a chimney on the west end. Light a fire, and the whole structure becomes a tropical paradise in the middle of a Manchurian winter. Because I refuse to eat nothing but potatoes, cabbage, and pickled vegetables for 5 months. I have a modern soul trapped in a 1980s body, and that soul demands green vegetables. I have money. Why suffer? Meanwhile, I turn my brothers and Wang Ji into soldiers. Every morning before breakfast, 1 hour of rifle holding. Stand still, arms extended, 5.5 gene rifle pointed at a target, don't move. Your arms shake, your muscles scream, your brain begs you to quit. But a sniper's accuracy starts with steady hands. A tiny tremor at the barrel becomes a miss by meters at distance. I did this alongside them because this body still needed conditioning. After breakfast, mountain logging expeditions. Not hunting, hauling. We drove the cart up, filled it with firewood, and then every single person carried a 100-gene log on their shoulders for the walk home. The cart carried wood. We also carried wood. 6 extra men meant 600 extra gene per trip. Morning trip, lunch, afternoon trip. Every day, the greenhouse would devour firewood all winter. It was brutal, but the food was extraordinary. Rice, steamed buns, bear oil flatbread, wild boar, pheasant, rabbit. Big yellow and little purple hunted alongside us daily, always bringing back birds and rabbits. We ate like kings and worked like mules. Within a week, the transformation was visible. My noodle body was actually developing muscles. The brothers were filling out. Even Wang Ji, already massive, moved with more purpose. I test-fired the Type 56 rifles and was genuinely pleased. My accuracy was coming back. After 10 days, I stopped the morning gun holding for myself and dropped the afternoon logging runs. My body was recovering well enough. I spent afternoons checking construction progress, inspecting the greenhouse, and spending quality time with my women. Yes, women, plural. Xiao Lan and Wang Jia had formed an alliance that defied every soap opera I'd ever seen. Instead of fighting, they became inseparable. Sewing together, cooking together, gossiping together. I tried to move into Wang Jia's house for convenience, but Dad shut that down immediately. I don't care if it's 3 a.m., you come home and sleep here. When you're married, do whatever you want. Until then, I am not becoming the village joke. Uncle Wu's version. After the wedding, fold yourselves into pretzels for all I care. Fair enough. Eventually, the mystery that had been eating my brain since that first night got solved. Here's what actually happened. That evening, after I'd left for Wang Jia's house, Xiao Lan couldn't sleep. It was only 6:30. She ran over to my house, found everyone in bed, and learned I'd gone to Wang Jia's to deliver fabric. So she followed. She arrived at Wang Jia's house, saw the light was on, opened the front door, was about to enter the inner room when she heard sounds. Through the small glass window in the door, she witnessed the entire situation. Dad, meanwhile, was lying on the Kong pretending to sleep, fully aware his son was at the widow's house, completely unable to do anything about it, because what kind of father-in-law asks for details about that? And the virgin widow mystery? That story traced back to, I swear I'm not making this up, another cow-kicking testicles incident. Wang Jia's late husband, as a hungry little boy, had snuck into the barn to steal milk directly from a cow. Not a female dairy cow. Well, it was female, but it had just given birth and was extremely aggressive. The kid lashed onto its teat. The cow kicked him square in the groin, and he lay there in agony for 2 or 3 hours before anyone found him. If they'd gotten him to a hospital immediately, maybe partial salvage was possible. But he was a kid. Kids don't tell adults when they do something stupid because telling adults means getting beaten, so he said nothing. Everything. Withered. He grew up not fully understanding what he'd lost. Married Wang Jia. Could not perform. At all. Not even once. The cow had kicked the entire future out of him. His parents blamed Wang Jia for not producing grandchildren. For years. Until one day, pushed to her breaking point, she screamed the truth at them. The shock was too much. Both parents fell ill and died within months. And that's how a married woman remained completely untouched. Her husband's equipment had been destroyed by a cow when he was 7 years old. The cosmic pattern was undeniable. Cows kicked Wang Jia's husband into oblivion. A bull dragged Wang Ji through 3 streets. Hong'an nearly froze us off in the river. Every male in this story was one farm animal away from permanent damage. The real apex predator in 1980s rural China wasn't the tiger or the bear, it was livestock aiming for the crotch. I looked at Big Yellow sleeping peacefully on his burlap sack and thought, at least you attack bears from behind. You understand. You get it. 2 weeks in, and the operation was running like clockwork. Construction progressing, greenhouse taking shape, brothers getting stronger, rifles getting calibrated, firewood stockpiling, Wang Jia sewing everyone's new clothes, Xiaolon learning bookkeeping, and the world's most unusual 3-person relationship somehow functioning without anyone getting stabbed. Total wealth, somewhere north of 65,000 yuan. 5 military rifles with 20,000 rounds. 1 submachine pistol. 1 antique handgun. 2 trained Martins. 1 horse, 1 mule, 1 cart. A team of 5 increasingly capable hunters. 2 future wives. 2 supportive fathers. And a winter greenhouse that would produce fresh vegetables when every other family in the village was eating pickled cabbage for the 100th consecutive day. Not bad for a dead mercenary who arrived in this timeline with ripped pants and his equipment hanging out. Half a month of pure grind. No hunting, just construction, training, and hauling wood like human pack mules. The compound walls were finished. The greenhouse frame was up, just needed plastic sheeting and the pine pole roof. The brothers had graduated from rifle-holding torture to actual live-fire training. Every day after logging, I'd line them up at the forest edge and point at a tree 200 meters away, thick as a bowl. First one to shoot it in half gets to rest. For me, 1 shot, maybe 2. Tree falls. For them, an hour, 10+ rounds, tree barely annoyed. But they were improving. I couldn't let them just blast away, though. Ammunition isn't infinite. Well, technically Old Sun gave us 20,000 rounds for free, but burned ammo is burned ammo. Waste not. Today was different. County trip. I needed plastic sheeting for the greenhouse, iron wire, nails, and vegetable seeds. The family's heirloom seeds had been replanted so many generations they'd basically devolved. Low yield, sad vegetables. Time for an upgrade. Xiaolon and Wang Jia insisted on coming. Fair enough. The wedding was 2 or 3 months away, and Uncle Wu had been mentioning it with increasing urgency. Ever since Xiaolon moved into Wang Jia's house, Uncle Wu's friendly fatherly gaze had evolved into the stare of a man counting days until a pregnancy announcement destroyed his reputation. In rural 1980s China, an unmarried girl getting pregnant is village-wide entertainment for years. The gossip aunties would feast. Did you hear? That Lu boy knocked up the Wu girl before the wedding. What kind of family raises children like that? Uncle Wu was living in daily terror of becoming a punchline. So we loaded up. 8 people on 1 cart. 5 Type 56 rifles, 1 antique pistol, 1 Type 80 submachine pistol. We looked less like shoppers and more like we were invading the county. Arrived around 8 a.m. Parked at the supply co-op and immediately ran into 2 familiar faces. Li Zijian, radiating his signature sleazy energy, and Restaurant Li, the county's fattest man, whose belly arrived a full second before the rest of him. Li Ji spotted me and power waddled over, hand already extended for a shake. Hongjun, brother. I was just asking Li Zijian about you. And here you are. Li Zijian lit me a cigarette, then noticed Xiaolon and Wang Jia flanking me. He leaned in close and whispered with maximum drama. There's another one inside. Your acquaintance. Don't cause a scene. My stomach dropped. I knew exactly who. I'd been planning to visit Han Mei separately today. Have a mature conversation. Explain the situation. I already had Xiaolon and Wang Jia. My romantic life was complicated enough. Han Mei and I had chemistry from school days, sure, but it was teenage fluttering, not grand love. I needed to be honest with her before things got messy. That plan evaporated when Han Mei walked out of the supply co-op. Hongjuan, I heard your voice from inside. Why haven't you visited me? She bounced, and I mean bounced, over to me. Twin ponytails swinging, chest physics in full effect, big eyes sparkling. Before I could say a word, Xiaolan's hand clamped onto my left arm like a steel trap. She pressed against me. eyes locked on Han Mei with the intensity of a guard dog who just spotted a burglar. She was approximately 2 teeth bares away from growling. Han Mei read the situation in 1 second flat. She grabbed my right arm. Same death grip. Same territorial stare. Then she deliberately pressed her bouncy assets against my arm and wrinkled her nose at Xiaolan. A declaration of war using mammary weaponry. Xiaolan retaliated with the same move, then glanced down at Han Mei's armament versus her own and visibly lost confidence. I was standing in front of the county supply co-op at 8 in the morning with 2 women attached to my arms engaged in a chest-pressing territorial dispute. Li Zijian was watching with undisguised glee. Restaurant Li was pretending to look elsewhere. My 4 brothers were on the cart with mouths hanging open. Wang Ji was eating something, unbothered. 3 minutes of silent warfare. 3 minutes of increasingly aggressive arm squeezing. 3 minutes during which I, Lu Hongjun, former international mercenary who has survived gunfights, knife fights, and bear fights, stood perfectly still and prayed for death. Then Xiaolan, my sweet, innocent, filter-free Xiaolan, realized she was losing the volume war. So she deployed her nuclear option. She turned to Wang Jie, who was standing quietly behind us trying to be invisible, and announced at full volume, Wang Jie, if you don't help me, someone's going to steal Hongju and Ji. And then who's going to keep you company at night? Wang Jie lunged forward and slapped her hand over Xiaolan's mouth. But the damage was done. The words were out. Every person within 10 meters heard them. Han Mei's eyes went wide. Li Zijian choked on his cigarette. Restaurant Li suddenly found the sky very interesting. Wang Jie's face was the color of a ripe tomato. My face matched. 3 women. 1 supply co-op parking lot. 0 escape routes. The bear was easier than this. The 1,000-gene pig king was easier than this. Wang Ji riding a boar backwards while being slapped by pig testicles was easier than this. I am a man who has crossed dimensions, killed wild boars, tamed apex predators, and earned 65,000 yuan in 2 weeks. But standing between 3 women who all have claims on me while the entire county watches? This is where heroes die. I had to defuse this bomb fast before someone lost an arm. Mine specifically. Okay, everyone calm down. Xiaolan, Wang Jie, go inside the co-op, buy whatever you want. Brothers, Wang Ji, go with them, pick out anything you like. Xiaolan pays for everything. I turned to Li Zijian. Babysit them. Then to Han Mei. Wait here. I need to talk to Li Ji first. Then I'll explain everything. Xiaolan reluctantly released my arm, but shot Han Mei one final death glare on her way inside. Wang Jie whispered something in her ear, and she suddenly smiled and bounced away happily. I have no idea what was said, and I'm terrified to find out. Han Mei let go of my arm too, but not before pinching my waist so hard I nearly screamed in front of everyone. Women don't need weapons. They have fingernails. Once the crowd dispersed, I lit a cigarette with Restaurant Li and apologized for the circus. He laughed it off, then got serious. Hongjun, I came looking for you today. You owe me an explanation. Oh, you killed a bear and sold it to the town guy instead of bringing it to me. We had a deal. Then I hear you dug up a 6-leaf ginseng, the kind most ginseng hunters never see in their entire careers, and sold that to the town guy too. 7,000 for a gold gallbladder? 60,000 for a 6-leaf? Brother, do you think I can't match those prices? I put on my best apologetic face. Li Ji, the bear was an accident. I was bringing it to you, but I literally ran into old Sun on the road. He's a business partner. I couldn't just drive past. And the gallbladder at 7,000. Would you really have gone that high? He nearly popped a blood vessel. 7,000? For a top-grade gold gallbladder? Brother, I saw that gallbladder. If you bring me the next one, I'll beat 7,000. Easily. Then the ginseng. And that 6-leaf. Do you know that word has already spread? Someone is offering 10 million. I mean, 100,000 yuan for it right now, and it hasn't even changed hands yet. I'm not trying to make you regret the 60,000. Old Sun got you a fair deal. He asked for 50, squeezed out 60. The man earned his commission. But the next one, he leaned forward. I need a 6-leaf. Perfect condition, not a scratch. Starting price, 100,000 yuan. Minimum. When the final buyer's price settles, and my source's ginseng just sold, yours won't go for less. Every yuan goes to you. I don't take a cut from you. I raised an eyebrow. No cut. He read my mind. The money isn't where my profit is on something like this. A 6-leaf ginseng delivered to the right person. Let's just say it opens doors that money alone can't open. He gave me a look. The universal look of, you know exactly what I mean. I did. In 1980s China, a perfect wild ginseng wasn't just medicine. It was a political currency. The kind of gift that gets people promoted, transfers approved, and connections cemented. Li Ji wasn't buying ginseng. He was buying access. I can't promise I'll find another one, I said. These things don't grow on trees. Technically they grow near trees, but whatever. But if I do, you'll be the first to know before I sell. He was genuinely grateful. Not the fake merchant gratitude. Real, sincere grateful. Then he glanced at Han Mei waiting nearby and said, "Handle your situation. Come see me at the restaurant when you're done," and waddled away. So the ginseng I sold for 60,000 was now apparently worth 100,000 on the secondary market. Old Sun's buyer was still flipping it upward. The price chain went. Me, 60K. Old Sun his client? Someone willing to pay 6 figures for a root. Was I upset about leaving 40,000 on the table? Not really. Old Sun gave me double market price when he didn't have to. Li Ji would give me even more next time. And there would be a next time. The mountains were full of ginseng if you knew where to look. My mercenary past included extensive wilderness survival training. Ginseng hunting was just another tracking mission. But 100,000 yuan for one plant? In an era where 10,000 makes you legendary? The mountains behind my village weren't just mountains. They were a bank. An unguarded, unlimited, renewable bank full of bears, ginseng, and fur-bearing animals, and I had the only withdrawal card. Li Ji disappeared down the street. Han Mei stood there, arms crossed, waiting for my explanation about why I had 2 women hanging off me. Time to face the music. But that's a conversation for after I buy plastic sheeting. Priorities. I looked at Han Mei standing beside me, and my brain hurt. This was supposed to be the easy conversation. The, let's be mature adults, conversation. The, I care about you, but we can't be together, conversation. I took a breath. Let's talk, she nodded. We walked side by side down the street in silence. Finally, she said, "What did you want to talk about?" I chose my words carefully. "We like each other. But I wouldn't call it love. What if I told you I'm already in love with you?" My carefully constructed speech collapsed like a house of cards. I lit a cigarette and took a drag deep enough to taste my lungs. Then, let's part ways gracefully. I'm not a good man, Han Mei. I never planned to be. I don't want one woman for a lifetime. I want many. I already have Xiao Lan, my childhood sweetheart. We're getting married this winter. And Wang Jia, the widow, we've already been together. They both know about each other and accept it. I won't add you to that list through lies. I won't pretend I can give you what you deserve. I'm sorry. I bowed to her. Deeply. Sincerely. She burst out laughing. You idiot. I haven't even said anything yet, and you're already apologizing and saying goodbye. Do I not even deserve the chance to be willingly deceived? Am I really worth less than a widow? I panicked. Say she's less than the widow? Terrible. Say she's more than the widow? Also terrible, because Wang Jie technically has priority based on operational history. Han Mei watched me spiral and laughed harder. Then she grabbed my arm and said, "Relax. Walk with me. Want to hear my story?" She told me everything. Her mother was a mistress. Not a second wife, a 5th. Her father already had 4 women before her mom. Her mother didn't know until after Han Mei was born. One huge fight later, her father basically abandoned them, occasionally showing up when he wanted physical attention, but contributing nothing else. He arranged a hospital job for her mother out of guilt, which is the only reason Han Mei got an education instead of starving. Recently, the old man discovered that none of the children from his 4 other women were actually his. The only biological child he had in the world was Han Mei, the daughter he'd ignored for 18 years. Now he was suddenly desperate to reconnect, pestering her and her mother constantly about accepting his legacy. Ironic, right? She said with a bitter smile. The one kid he didn't want is the only one that's actually his. Sounds like a novel. Except it's my actual life. She stopped walking and looked at me. Here's what you don't know. When you visited the hospital last time, my mother saw you. She told me immediately. That boy will never belong to just one woman. Don't fall too deep unless you're ready to share him. So I decided to test you. Test me. Today, if you'd lied to me, hidden the other women, pretended to be single, I would have walked away forever, no matter how much I liked you. But you told me the truth. You bowed and apologized. You chose honesty over getting what you wanted. She stood on her tiptoes and kissed me on the cheek. In public, on a 1980 street. Congratulations. You passed. My brain short-circuited. Public displays of affection in this era are approximately as scandalous as robbing a bank. This girl was fearless. But, your parents? Your mother? I can't offer you a wedding or a marriage certificate, she waved dismissively. My mother spent years as wife number 5. She learned that certificates and ceremonies mean nothing compared to actual happiness. And my father can't manage his OWN love life. He has zero authority over mine. Growing up watching your mother navigate a 5-woman arrangement apparently gives you a very pragmatic view of relationships. Han Mei wasn't naive about what she was signing up for. She'd studied the syllabus since birth. Then she added one condition. Before your wedding, you have to be with me before you marry Xiaolon. I don't care about ceremonies or papers, but the word mistress makes my skin crawl. If it happens after your marriage, I'll feel like my mother. If it happens before, I'm just a woman who chose you. There's a difference. It matters to me. I understood. Her mother's wound was her deepest fear. Being the other woman within a marriage versus being a woman who joined before the marriage. Legally identical, emotionally worlds apart. Fine, I said. Come to the village. I'll arrange it with Xiaolon and Wangjia. She pouted instantly. You want my first time to be a group event? Talk to Xiaolon about it. She'll explain why. I wasn't being callous. Xiaolon had insisted from the start that she be present and involved with any new additions. It was her way of maintaining the hierarchy. The queen approves all appointments. Wangjia's situation had been an accident. Everything going forward would go through proper channels. Han Mei didn't understand yet, but she would. Xiaolon had a gift for making other women feel welcome while simultaneously establishing that she was in charge. It was diplomatic genius wrapped in an 18-year-old girl who still said, "Good eat," with her mouth full. We walked back to the supply co-op. My love life now officially included 1 fiancé, 1 widow, and 1 hospital worker with daddy issues and a no-nonsense attitude about relationship structures. 3 women. Each one knew about the others. Each one had chosen this with open eyes. No lies, no deception, no sneaking around. Was this moral? Debatable. Was it honest? Absolutely. Was it sustainable? Ask me again in a month. Right now I had plastic sheeting to buy and a greenhouse to finish before the first snow buried us all.